Peace, family. Y'all know who it is. It's Dr. Bukai K. Lumumba, the progenitor of LumumbaSpeaks.com, a Black empowerment initiative in which we believe we could gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black. Back once again with another show, a very important show, where we're going to be seeking to address the humanitarian crisis in the Congo, particularly the eastern part of the Congo, in conjunction, once again, family, with Beacon Network. As you all know, the Pan-African social media extraordinaire in the home of Africans in the news and information. If you're watching, once again, make sure you hit the subscribe and the like button. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Also, make sure you hit the notification bell for future videos. So, once again, family, today is, as you all know, the second day of Pan-African History Month. I want to give a special shout out to Dr. Carter G. Woodson, one for creating Negro History Week, which later became Black History Month, or as we like to call it, Pan-African History Month. You're all familiar that since 1976, Gerald R. Ford, then President Gerald R. Ford, has consistent, every president since has, of course, acknowledged Black History Month. We also want to give a shout out to Dr. Carter G. Woodson for creating ASALA, the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. We know Dr. Carter G. Woodson is most known for his seminal text, Miseducation of the Negro, being one of the principal fathers, of course, of African American history, along with Dr. John Hope Franklin. But also, many people may be unaware of his literature, of course, highlighting, of course, African history and, of course, African cultural attention to African American culture. So just want to definitely give a shout out to Dr. Carter G. Woodson here on the second day of Pan-African History Month. But also, family, as you all know, today's show is titled Wealth, War, M23 in the Congo, What Pan-Africanists Can Do to Help. Many are aware of the fact that the Democratic Republic of the Congo, of course, was the home of course, one of my heroes and my namesake, Patrice Emery Lumumba, of course, who was the first legally elected Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And of course, was a Pan-Africanist, a progressive Pan-Africanist who sought to, of course, forge ties with, of course, Kwame Nkrumah, who was the leader of the Casablanca group, who sought to create, of course, the Organization of African Unity, that is now known as the African Union. Unfortunately, as many of us are aware, in January of 1961, Patrice Lumumba was assassinated due to the amalgamation of interests of the United Nations, the Belgian government, British government, and the United States government. Many were afraid that these nations were afraid that they would lose their grip, of course, on the natural resources of the Congo. If you are unaware, most argue that the Congo's natural resources are estimated to be not 24 million, not 24 billion, but $24 trillion, making it, in fact, the wealthiest nation in the world in terms of natural resources. However, they are the citizens of this nation, the vast nation, which is the largest nation in sub-Saharan Africa, have not been able to benefit from the wealth of the land, which was the goal that Patrice Lumumba sought to actually enact and fulfill. We also know, unfortunately, that the uranium that was used to create the atomic bombs that were dropped on Japan during World War II, some of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, though the uranium was taken, of course, from the Congo. And so these are some issues, some of the backdrops many people may be unaware of, but family will definitely want everyone to tap in, be part of the conversation as we're discussing this issue is rather important. But the key is, what can Pan-Africans do to help the situation? We know that the Congo, of course, the Democratic Republic of the Congo was, of course, the brainchild of the progressive Pan-Africanist Patrice Emery Lumumba. However, he was assassinated before he was able to really fulfill the goal and mission of creating the Congo into a modern nation in which the citizens of the nation were able to benefit from the material wealth of the land. And so it is my belief that there's going to have to be individuals who aren't self-serving, who truly have the best interests of the Congo and the Congolese people at heart, to come up with some realistic, progressive, and sustainable and tangible solutions to the issue. We do know, I was able to read a New York Times article earlier this week, that the Congo has actually filed suit against Apple in the European courts for engaging in, of course, using conflict minerals as a way to make their products. We do know that I believe half of the cobalt in the world reserves are found in the Congo, about 70-80% of coltan, but you need to use an electromagnetic device, flat screen television, of course, a laptop that I'm on today. So there's a number of issues, and of course, gold, copper, things of that nature. Of course, once again, some of these needed minerals, of course, are being, of course, trafficked. And so we would get into that. But family, once again, if you're watching, make sure you hit the subscribe and the like button, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Make sure you hit the notification bell. You're watching Lumumba Speaks, and of course, Beat Online Network here on YouTube. I also want to make sure that put a 1 in the chat if you're familiar, vaguely familiar, or at least have a surface level understanding of what's going on in the Congo, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, not to be confused with the Republic of the Congo. And put a 2 in the chat if you're unfamiliar. Once again, put a 1 in the chat if you're familiar, at least at a surface level with what's taking place in the Congo. And put a 2 in the chat if you're unfamiliar with what has taken place in the Congo. So once again, put a 1 in the chat if you are aware, if you are cognizant, and put a 2 in the chat if you are unaware of the issues taking place in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, particularly the eastern provinces of this vast nation, which of course is the largest nation, sub-Saharan African nation in Africa, right? So appreciate Mr. Sandman, one of our contributors, for getting us back up and running. Mr. Sandman is aware of what's taking place in the Congo. And so definitely there's some other brothers and sisters supposed to be tapping in. We know there's another brother, I'm Kyle, who of course is from the Congo. Or you're here, okay? And so he's going to tap in and really give us some, many would argue is almost a boots on the ground perspective, of course, being Congolese. And we definitely appreciate you being here, brother, because we know this is a Pan-African channel. So anyone, of course, who is interested in African redemption at home and abroad is welcome to take part, of course, here at Lumumba Speaks and, of course, Beat Online Network. So we are definitely appreciative of that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to play a video that kind of surmises, right, some of the issues taking place in, of course, the DRC. As we know, once again, the Congo is one of the most mineral-rich nations in the world. Many argue it is the most mineral-rich nation in the world in terms of cobalt, coltan, of course, and gold. These minerals are essential for making smartphones, electronic vehicles, so on and so forth. So there are a number of local and global players, multinational corporations who are desperate to get their hands on these of course, resources. And as a result, oftentimes foment civil unrest as a way to have a lack of comprehensive oversight so that they're able to, of course, obtain and traffic and sell these conflict minerals. So once again, family, I'm going to play this video. Fair use, because we know we are on YouTube. So I'm going to say fair use. And then we're going to get things started here. So one moment, family. Fair use, fair use, fair use.
There's probably a piece of this country in your smartphone. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, or DRC, could be one of the richest countries in the world. That's because of what lies below the ground here. Vast resources such as gold, cobalt, and coltan. But the DRC is not rich. In fact, many Congolese people are among the world's poorest.
Congo is basically a resource-endowed country, but it is also a resource-cursed country.
And it's home to possibly the deadliest conflict since World War II.
While people are distracted by the war, others are profiting from the natural resources.
We're going to look at how the DRC became a looting ground for the power-hungry and the corporate, and how even its neighbors have a hand in the exploitation. This is the Democratic Republic of the Congo, also known as the DRC, or sometimes just the Congo. Not to be confused with its neighbor, the Republic of the Congo. The DRC is the largest country in sub-Saharan Africa, and it's bordered by 9 countries. One of them, Rwanda, actually plays a big role in this tragedy. We'll come back to that later. An estimated 110 million people live here in the DRC. 3 out of 4 of them often don't have access to even the basics: shelter, clean drinking water, and enough food. 1 in 12 children here dies before the age of 12. The DRC is among the 5 poorest countries in the world. It's this misery that drives hundreds of thousands of Congolese to work in mining sites like this one. And that's where we want to start this story. This is dangerous work in dangerous conditions, and for just a few dollars a day. Child labor, threats, and violence are often reported, not to mention the vast environmental damage. All these things are happening because of the rush for riches under the ground. An estimated 24 trillion US dollars worth of minerals lie beneath the surface.
That is effectively one of the richest countries in the world, certainly the wealthiest country in Africa, with all kinds of resources that you can imagine, some of which have not even been discovered.
This is Paul Nantulia. He works at the Africa Center for Strategic Studies in Washington, D.C.
You talk of any resource, name it, it is in the Congo in plenty.
For instance, gold, for jewelry and electronics. Cobalt, used for batteries like in electric cars. The DRC has more than half of the world's cobalt reserves. Copper, vital for solar panels. And coltan, it's literally everywhere in electronic devices, for example, in your smartphone. An estimated 60 to 80% of global coltan reserves are in the DRC. So you can imagine everybody wants a piece of this pie. Be they militia groups controlling informal mines, or huge multinational companies that have set up massive industrial complexes. This map shows some of the DRC's major industrial cobalt, copper, and gold mines. So who owns these mines? Well, the DRC has a minority share in many of them, but almost all are majority foreign-owned, some by a Swiss company, Glencore, then there are firms from Canada and the United Arab Emirates, but the most important player here is China. The red dots are majority Chinese-owned mines. Since the 1990s, China has been forging ties with the DRC, gaining more and more control over the DRC's valuable natural resources. By the way, this huge mine was owned by a US company until the 2010s, but was sold off to a Chinese firm. A step the US government now regrets because it could really use those resources to build electric cars. Chinese companies control 70% of the copper mining and 50% of the cobalt mining in the DRC. Let's take this huge copper and cobalt mining site. It's been majority Chinese-owned since the DRC and China struck a deal in 2008, the Sycamines Agreement. The deal was about investment. In return for access to the mine, China pledged to build roads, schools, and hospitals. Sounds like a win-win situation, right? But not much of the promised investment has materialized. Congolese people still have to make do with roads like this. So where did all the money actually go? Mostly lost in corruption, a key reason for poverty in the country. The DRC is ranked 162 out of 180 on Transparency International's Corruption Perceptions Index. This basically means corruption is everywhere in the country, including in deals with multinational companies, whether European or Chinese. But it's not just outsiders to blame.
The Congolese people have had governments thrusted upon them that are really of the worst type that one can ever imagine.
So it's basically the DRC's leaders who have profited from the resources, and we're about to meet them. When it comes to the DRC's long history of exploitation, we kind of have to start with this man. King Leopold II of Belgium. In 1885, he seized this territory as his personal property and named it Congo Free State. It was anything but. An estimated 10 million Congolese were killed or died from hunger or disease during Leopold's cruel rule. Many were enslaved and forced to work collecting rubber, used for making car and bicycle tires. And the exploitation continued after 1908, when Belgium turned the Congo Free State into a colony. But in 1960, there was hope for a new start. This was the year the DRC gained independence, and its first prime minister, Patrice Lumumba. Even today, many in the DRC see him as the national hero. Lumumba had a vision for a just nation. The country's natural resources should be used for the benefit of its citizens. But just months later, Lumumba was captured by his opponents and murdered, with the tacit backing of Belgium and the US. They wanted him out of the way, fearing he was getting too close to the Soviet Union during the Cold War.
So the Congo has never recovered from that tragedy. And I think this is the first reason why the country is in repeated cycles of trauma and crisis.
One of the issues that's constantly plagued Democratic Republic of Congo has been political instability and chronic mismanagement by successive governments.
This is Beverly Ocheng speaking, a security expert based in Dakar, Senegal. And when she says governments, there haven't actually been many. That's because dictator Joseph Desiré Mobutu ruled for 32 years. Mobutu, with his distinctive leopard print hat, renamed the country Zaire. And he grew eye-wateringly rich, looting the national coffers at the people's expense. Western countries, including the US, were willing to turn a blind eye. They wanted to keep him close to them and away from the Soviet Union because, you guessed it, they of course wanted priority access to the country's resources. Once, the US even sent Mobutu several planes in a bid to secure mining rights. He demanded that one of them be loaded with $60,000 worth of Coca-Cola.
The kleptocratic rule that was refined and perfected by Mobutu, unfortunately, it became part and parcel of how the country is governed.
And so it continued long after Mobutu, first under Laurent Kabila, then under his son Joseph, who was notoriously corrupt. Again, the DRC's mineral wealth was sold off to foreign investors and at laughably low prices. When current President Félix Tshisekedi took office in 2019, he pledged to crack down on corruption. But both his elections were marred by fraud allegations. And for many people, not enough has changed.
I think there have been some small strides. Whether that government has actually met some of the campaign objectives that they had put in place is another question.
So, we've seen how corruption and exploitation stand in the way of a brighter future for Congolese people. But there's another major hurdle.
The biggest reason of the poverty in the Congo, especially in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, is due to the war.
This is Ruth Olonga, a DW correspondent in Goma. The conflict she's talking about is happening in her region, in the east of the DRC. More than 120 different militias are active here. Yes, you've heard right, 120. Some of them are small local groups. Others are larger militias with foreign backing, like the M23 and the FDLR. We'll come back to them. These militias have different aims and agendas. And one way of financing those goals? Exactly. We're back to the minerals. Look at the provinces worst hit by the conflict: Ituri, North Kivu, and South Kivu. That's also where many of the DRC's valuable natural resources are found.
So it's a conflict belt, but it's also a resource belt.
The minerals themselves do end up feeding into the conflict because then armed groups can take territories, make them their own, and run an entire operation there, which then undermines the possibility of them being used for the betterment of the community.
Let's take this example. In 2024, M23 militants took over these mining sites near the town of Rubaya. This area is where most of the DRC's coltan comes from. Remember that one? It's one of the minerals needed in your smartphone. So, it's valuable and lucrative for any groups that can get their hands on it. But there's much more to this conflict.
The minerals have probably added to it, but the fact that there's been ethnic animosities which go way back from the colonial period are not necessarily about the minerals themselves. Those just fuel the situation, but are not the underlying cause.
To unpack that, we need to go back in time and head to one of the DRC's neighbors, Rwanda, where in 1994 a brutal genocide was unfolding. One ethnic group had turned against another, the Hutu majority against the ruling Tutsi minority. In the end, extremist Hutus killed around 800,000 Tutsis and moderate Hutus. During that time, many Rwandans fled across the border into the DRC. Among them, some of the Hutu perpetrators. The aftermath of the Rwandan genocide still influences the conflict in eastern DRC today, and the blame game that surrounds it. Two of the biggest militias are proof of that. The FDLR started with those Hutu extremists linked to the genocide. Then there's the M23. Its members are mainly ethnic Tutsis, so the victims of the genocide. The DRC accuses Rwanda of supporting the M23, and the other way around. Rwanda says the DRC is working with the FDLR. Both governments deny that. It's messy, but bear with us. There is another key group, the ADF. It's very difficult to find pictures of them, just of what they leave behind, a trail of destruction. The Islamist militia originated in Uganda and has ties to the so-called Islamic State. Decades of fighting by these groups and many others have left around 6 million people dead since 1996. Today, a further 7 million people in the DRC are internally displaced, the UN reports. Those people have lost everything. The Congolese army is supposed to contain the conflict, but they, like it seems everyone else, have faced allegations of human rights abuses and corruption. And maintaining an army is costly.
The war also absorbs financial resources that could be used for maybe developing infrastructure, education, and healthcare, and so on.
So many people keep on suffering while others profit.
Congo has had neighbors that have not been good neighbors, neighbors that have exploited Congo's governance gaps.
There is no doubt that Rwanda benefits massively from the instability in the DRC. Most of the gold Rwanda exports is believed to be Congolese gold, smuggled across the border. And while the DRC is the world's biggest coltan producer, the biggest coltan exporter is Rwanda. But despite the smuggling, the European Union struck a controversial mineral deal with Rwanda. Local NGOs say this deal even fuels the conflicts. Rwanda is not the only place these resources get to. UN experts found gold and other minerals from the DRC were also being smuggled to Uganda, Burundi, Tanzania, and even the United Arab Emirates.
From there, they make their way into international markets or into the international black market.
And again, possibly into your smartphone. So, where are we at? International efforts to tackle these problems haven't worked. Ceasefire agreements have broken into pieces. The UN's biggest ever peacekeeping mission has largely failed.
And the fact that many of the initiatives that are being driven to ensure a level of stability or a level of political goodwill keep on coming undone each and every time means that there are fairly bleak prospects for DR Congo.
So is there at least a little hope for the Congo?
Congo needs a democratic, legitimate government that is respected and given legitimacy by the people.
To hope for a better future, a bright future, the government has to involve the local population in managing these resources.
That seems like wishful thinking for now. One of the longest running conflicts on Earth looks set to continue. And others won't stop profiting from the country's riches.
All right, family. So hopefully you all were able to glean a lot regarding the conflict, the history, what's going on in the Congo, particularly the eastern part of the Congo. Once again, if you're watching, family, make sure you subscribe and like. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, and subscribe. We want to grow the channel. Of course, we're here at LumumbaSpeaks.com and Black Empowerment Initiative, where we believe we could gain a competitive advantage by always betting on Black, in conjunction, of course, Beacon Network, the Pan-African social media extraordinaire, and the home of course, Africans in the news and information. And we're discussing the wealth war, M23 in the Congo, what Pan-Africanists can do to help us all. A question from Snapshot Reviews. You state, is it corruption or incompetence? That's a great question, and we can open things up. The link is in the description. I will put the link in the chat momentarily. But many argue that the corruption is a byproduct or a symptom of a larger issue, and that's the inability of the Congo to be able to control access to, of course, its natural resources. So that leads, and we know whenever there's oppression of any kind, we have perpetrators, collaborators, and victims. And unfortunately, due to, many would argue, the absolute poverty in the Congo in many aspects, particularly eastern part of the Congo, this type of instability plays a role that's beneficial to, of course, multinational corporations, different countries, particularly Western nations, etc., playing a role in, of course, being able to purchase conflict diamonds. I'm sorry, not conflict diamonds, but conflict minerals. So something to consider. Mr. Sandman, I see you saying this is the best Afrocentric show on the internet. A pleasure to be a contributor. Don't know if that's true. Appreciate the compliment. I do know that there are a couple brothers and sisters out there who I think do some good work, but I definitely appreciate the compliment. We want to make sure that we're doing as much as we can to have an African Center, the Pan-Africanist frame of reference, some of the issues that we face as a people. The other issue is this is a space where we're seeking to have productive conversations, not nonsensical conversations, but productive conversations that are solution oriented to address the issues that we face on a diurnal basis. So something to consider there. But a Zongo native, you asked a question in terms of what am I doing now that I'm, of course, a doctor, a PhD, and of course, many of you all were there with me when I started, of course, this process. And I see you in queue, brother. I'm going to bring you in momentarily, but we were working on an announcement. We will put an announcement together probably in the next week or two regarding next steps for me now that I, of course, am a PhD. But appreciate you asking that question, brother. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to put the link in the chat. The link's in the description, link is in the chat, and I want you all to tap in, be part of the conversation. And once again, this is solution-oriented. Some have argued that we need to go to not just petition online, Black Congressional Caucus, but actually go to many of our state legislatures, congressmen, congresswomen, physically at the office and say this is an issue we need to get involved in. But this is a major issue, and I do believe that it's going to take a Pan-Africanist solution to the issue. So we talk about different nations bordering the eastern border of the Congo playing a role in, of course, in trafficking these minerals. So we're going to need a Pan-Africanist solution. I would hope ECOWAS, the economic, or not ECOWAS, but they're, of course, ECOWAS is, of course, Economic Community of West African States. But I think there's an Economic Community of East African States, EAS, that they could come to some type of solution in which all can benefit from the wealth of course of African land, but particularly the brothers and sisters in the Congo. So once again, family, the link is in the description. The link is in the chat. Tap in, be part of the conversation. We're discussing wealth war, M23 in the Congo. What can Pan-Africanists do to help? We know that part of the reason the Congo is in the position that it's in now, of course, was due to the assassination of Pan-Africanist Patrice Lumumba, who was the first legally elected prime minister of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And of course, his assassination left the nation in turmoil, and of course, created these type of governmental gaps that were needed and necessary for Western nations to continue to exploit the land of the Congo, and of course, the Congolese, as a byproduct of that, the Congolese people. And so, unfortunately, family, the Congo was one of the poorest nations in the world, even though it's the wealthiest nation in the world, and we know that as an oxymoron. So definitely, family, need you all to tap in, be part of the conversation. Links in the description, links in the chat, but a snapshot reviews, you're all the way over in the UK, jolly old London, you're across the pond, but you can still tap in, be part of the conversation. If you have any questions, I'm quite sure there'll be more than enough people here to answer. So, brother, welcome. You've been asking me to do a show on this topic, and so the time is now. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and thank you. I'm grateful for allowing us and doing the show on Congo. I'm ready. Although, despite the fact that I wanted to provide more documentation because there is gazillions, but the problem of time and some issues, technical issues. But I think I sent you enough. I mean, what you can use right now, and because with many situations, peace first instead of peace to all the panelists and to all the people who will be following us live. This is Omkal. I'm originally from Congo, from the east. So everywhere where this conflict is going on, be it in Goma, maybe Bukavu, where it's affected Uvira. My parents are originally from Uvira. I was born in Bukavu, so I grew up in all that area. I visited Rwanda before the situation before Kagame and after Kagame. I most of the time visited Burundi, so I know the whole region. Tanzania. I grew up. Part of my life I spent it in South Africa, so I know most of the dynamics in the region. So, going straight forward to the point, I would like to first tell or inform our viewers or the people with my development or what I'm going to talk about, that on Congolese side, this issue between Congo and Rwanda, people have to understand that on Congolese side is not about hatred. You know, it's not about hatred that like our brothers Banyarwanda try to put it out there. It's about, you know, because you know, people have been confused about really what's going on in the Congo. As I've said, it's not hatred. It's about just putting out truth and lies. It's about customary rights versus immigrant rights. You know, before I attack the history. So, if I can ask Brother Lumumba to show us, because I want to go in a little bit deep, if you can allow me even 2 minutes or 3 minutes to give a little bit of history so that people may understand the location and what is going on. So the map number 1, which show Rwanda, you know, ancient Rwanda, if it's possible to display it, it will be of great use to our viewers. Because
can you pull it up on your
on my laptop?
device? Yes.
Oh, unfortunately,
then you could just share your.
I didn't prepare. Okay, let me see if I can get it from the email which I was sending it to
That's
you.
quite all right. I can pull it up here.
You can?
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Yeah, people have to understand while you are getting that. Have to understand first. You know, if you go, you can go even to Google Map. Anybody who's on computer or you know any device and pull up Kivu. You know, you will see there is North Kivu and South Kivu. People get confused or get bamboozled because like about the term, for example, so-called Banyamulenge. And people generalize that, you know, every Rwandan speaking, they call it, hey, it's a Banyamulenge thing, or it's a this and this thing, you know. So, those one who are so-called Banyamulenge, they are in South Kivu, and our other brothers, Congolese of Rwandan origin, they are in North Kivu. So, if you can see the map which Brother Lumba have just put, this map is not from me. This is from historian. No, the first one. Yeah, the one which, yeah, just this one. Yeah, it's fine. I don't know if you can. The way I was rotating it, it could have been better, but anybody can read. So, if you look at this map well, there is a place where I put CR. That Central Rwanda, yes. This is Central Rwanda Kingdom. People have to know that the ancient, when you speak about Rwandan Kingdom, the ancient Rwanda Kingdom is different from today, you know, country Rwanda. The ancient Rwandan Kingdom used to be a small kingdom which was around the Bwanachambo region. That's where I put Central Rwanda Kingdom. But since the 1850, with the arrival of King Kigeri Rwabugiri, can you pick up the baby noise in the background? Lumumba, can you pick up the baby noise?
Yes, I can. I can hear that in the background.
Oh, let me give her something. Yeah, my wife left. Sorry, guys. Just 1 minute, maybe some.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I allowed you to do that. So provide triggers for evolution states. I think there needs to be some form of Pan-Africanist or internationalist African-centered body whose focal or core charge must be safeguarding the interests of Black folks worldwide. When folks like Kagame, we're talking about the president of Rwanda, violate the interests of African people, there needs to be some real consequences. Mr. Sandman, bringing you in. So I'll provide triggers for evolution, PTFE. The issue is, and I think there's some background noise, Mr. Sandman. Yeah, there is a body that's supposed to do that. It's called the African Union, formerly known as the Organization of African Unity, headquartered in Addis Ababa. The issue there is that the critique of the African Union is that the African Union is a toothless bulldog that is unable and unwilling to enforce its actual rules, tenets, so on and so forth, right? And so that would be part of the problem. The African Union is supposed to be the organization that safeguards the interests of African people, particularly on the continent, but even in some ways, of course, in the diaspora as well. So extremely, of course, problematic. And so the argument is that we have that organization, but for some reason, and there are numerous reasons for that, it is unable to do the job that it's been tasked with actually doing. Any thoughts from the panel?
Can you repeat that for a second? I had dropped off a little bit.
Yeah, no problem,
I'm
Brother
sorry.
Sandman. From the 215, Illadel's finest, one of the contributors to, of course, Lumumba Speaks and Beautiful on Network. So, Brother Provide Triggers for Evolution stated there needs to be some type of Pan-Africans. And we get some background from you. Pan-Africans or internationalists or African-centered body whose focal core charge must be safeguarding the interests of Black folks worldwide. When folks like Kagame, who of course is the president of Rwanda, violate the interests of African people, there need be some real consequences. The problem with that, of course, is the African Union is that an international Pan-African body that's supposed to be able to do that, but it's known politically. The critique is that the African Union is a toothless bulldog that's unable to enforce, of course, its rules and hold people accountable for violating the rules and tenets, of course, of the African Union.
Yes. This issue in the Congo might be a little bit too much for us to handle, Pan-African wise. I mean, I was just looking at the logistics of the Congo, and first of all, it's the epicenter of the second largest rainforest in the world. It's the epicenter of the most endangered and exotic animals in the whole entire planet, with a human population of about 100 million and a natural resources wealth evaluated at more than the value of the entire United States economy. I mean, theoretically, if they took full advantage of those natural resources, every person that lived in the Congo can live like a wealthy person, like the rich and the famous.
Right.
But unfortunately, the long-term ramifications of exploiting that area of the planet Earth will have ramifications for the entire world, not just the people of the Congo.
Right.
We all know they're talking about climate change, and we all know that our rainforests, both in Africa and in South America, play a huge role in mitigating what do you call it? Emissions, carbon emissions in the atmosphere. If you let China completely ravage that area, a lot of those animals that are endangered are going to lose their habitats, and we're going to lose like a huge part of the world's ecosystem. Man, it's just I mean, for us to, man, I mean, whew, I don't, because all right, so China has already invested several $100 billion in the mines of the Congo. So the only way to get them from stopping to I don't know, take advantage of the natural resources in the Congo and to stop the fighting, because they're not going to stop the fighting as long as there's somebody to buy the resources. So, man, I think the onus is on us is to stop being manipulated into killing each other for money. I mean, what's more valuable, human?
Breaking up on us. You're breaking up on us, brother. Yeah, you're breaking up on us. I'm gonna allow brother Zongo Native to tap in. Zongo Native, you can tap in if you want.
I think I kind of like missed the introduction part of your show, so I was just kind of like reviewing it a little bit before I just give my commentary. So maybe the other panelists can go on.
No
I'll
problem.
get back.
No
Okay,
problem.
I'm still on the show.
No problem. Once again, family, the link is in the description. The link is in the chat. Tap in, be part of the conversation. We're discussing wealth war M23 in the Congo. Many are aware that the Congo is the world's
Combat.
wealthiest nation in the world in terms of natural resources, listed at, of course, $24 trillion. However, the Congo has struggled, of course, since the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, even going back to, of course, when it was colonized by King Leopold II of Belgium, known as the Congo Free State, to struggle with being able to control access to its natural resources. There have been a number of not only multinational corporations and businesses who have had their hands, of course, in terms in the middle of course, muddying and disrupting, actual civil society in the Congo, but also with many nations as well who are
So let me ask.
access.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, I'm back.
Access to, of course, the Congo's resources. Go right ahead, Brother Zongo.
Yeah, because it was like a Western media that was giving us the information, and it seems like Omkar is a researcher from DRC himself. So I just wanted to ask him like if he watched the early part of the show.
Yes.
Do you generally agree with the information that was provided in the documentary, the brief documentary that Lumumba shared on DW News?
Yes, there is a
The
lot of
summary,
things.
the summary.
Yes, a lot of things which was spoken in that interview is
Mhm.
true. There is only a little bit of context which is to be given to that, and we don't have to get all our news from Western media. There is now African centered media,
Mhm.
like
Yeah, I mean that's why I was asking you because
if
it's obviously gonna be tailored
yeah,
towards like a DW perspective. So
yeah, whenever you're ready, I will be ready now to continue. Now everything
So,
is good.
very quickly, one of the reasons I used that was because the information was accurate, right? So, as you may know, I don't tend to rely on Western sources of information, but the information was accurate.
Yeah.
Snapshot Reviews asked the question: at what point did Rwanda assume the role of handler for Congo's resources? Great question. To answer that, what we found was that the European Union entered into a deal with
Yes.
Rwanda to purchase conflict minerals from Rwanda. So we know that the Congo is the leading producer of coltan and cobalt.
Yes.
However, Rwanda is the leading exporter of these minerals, right?
Yeah.
And so the European Union has actually entered into a deal with the Rwandan government to purchase those resources, even though they know they're stealing them from the Congo. So that would be an example of how, and the manner in which Rwanda has assumed the role of the handler for the Congolese resources.
Yes.
Go right ahead, but I'm called.
All right. Now, I would like to speak with this. I don't know if the picture on can be destroyed. With all this situation, a lot of things which people don't know. It's since Congo is a French-speaking country and Rwanda is a kind of English now speaking country, so there is a little bit of mismatch when you are looking for information. A lot of information from Congo is in French, but information coming from Rwanda will be in English, and that's why you'll find that a lot of even our brothers and sisters Pan-African or so-called Pan-African, they tend to go or to run with a Rwandan narratives and not listening to Congolese. One example I'll give, and that's why if you can display the Michaela Ronk, from the this is an extract picture one, which is extracted from the book Do Not Disturb. This is a book which anybody can get from public library, and it's not only him that's got this. There is also a Rwandan author who wrote. His name is Gaspar Musabimana. In his book, the real nature of RPF from Uganda to Rwanda. I quote: "The culture of lies in Kinyarwanda called ubwenge," and sorry, please, I just wanna give out facts and so that people may understand next time when they are dealing with our brothers or information coming from Rwanda or listening or hearing President Kagame speak, you have to have this in your mind. This is from Rwandan, and is not the only persons who have said this. A lot of Rwandan actually who have wrote on Rwanda, they've said this, and even foreign people or journalists who used to be pro Kagame, they've come to find that this is a true thing. It's in their culture. That's why I'm recommending that book. Do not disturb. Just on its first page, you'll see that. So I go again, Gaspar Musalimana. I quote, "The culture of lies in Kinyarwanda called ubgenge. In Rwanda, it's an undeniable fact. It's combined intelligence, lies, ruse, malignity, duplicity, dissimulation, and February." This is also in Mika Lorong. So, and me, or a lot of people, if you ask a lot of people who have been living in that region, you can ask Baganda from Uganda. You ask Congolese, authentic Congolese, like from the north, Bahunde, Banyanga, Bashi, Bavira, Bafuliru, or even Barundi. And some, on the other side, even Tanzanians from the Rukwa region. They will, all people who have lived longer with Banyarwanda and study them and who are knowledgeable, they will tell you this is true. So why I'm quoting that is to give a perspective to everything which we're gonna be hearing from Rwandan, or we're gonna be saying here, because this is what for them they take as it's like for them they call it, it's like it's a virtue. It's especially those who are of aristocratic lineage, they practice this. And that's why you'll hear, for example, President Kagame will tell you that the east part of Congo used to be Rwandan. But actually, when you go, yes, that book, when you go to, when you start doing research, you start reading books, you'll find that this is not fact. And even a lot of Pan-African leaders, they've fall into this trap. For example, I'll use in another book, Africa's World War, on page 65 that I sent to Brother Lumumba. On page 65, you'll understand there is a video which is going around, especially the Rwandan connection, or people who have been closer to Rwanda, they've been sharing. And that video, it's showing former president of Tanzania, Mzee Julius Kambarage Nyerere, repeating the same narrative of Rwanda. But people who have never read a lot on Congo, they don't understand. But if you read now this book, you can find it at the public library, page 65 to 67, you'll understand why Nyerere said that. And let me say it's because Nyerere in 1996 was among the people who were trying to put some African leader together so as to attack Congo and overthrow Mobutu. Because, Nyerere was closer to Lumumba. He didn't know the plot actually behind that war, the whole truth, or the motive behind Rwanda and Uganda. In this show, we'll do our best to expose the motive behind Rwanda and Uganda. And in every war, before the war starts, there has to be a narrative which people will push and saying this is why the war is going on. And that's why they came with that so-called Banyamulenge being discriminated in Congo, Banyamulenge being, killed, or Banyamulenge, which is not actually, when you start reading, when you go to the bottom of it, it wasn't true. It's like in Iraq when the US wanted to invade Iraq. Colin Powell, you remember, he went to Security Council and gave this narrative that Iraq has nuclear bomb or whatever kind of bomb, which it came to be found that it was not true. That's why Nyerere was also pushing that narrative. Now, if Brother Lumumba may help us and display that first map so that I may now understand, I may now explain the situation, what is going on in Congo. And this map is from the book. If you wanna get this book as well, it's book written by John Kapapi. You can find it on Amazon. Eastern Congo Zaire, a case study, South Kivu pre-colonial to 2018. But the map itself, he found it also in the book written by a historian, Professor David Newberry of he's a professor in US who did the field study in Rwanda for many years, and it's in his book Kings and Clans. Yeah, Kings and Clans. That's where you can find these maps. So on this map, you will see that as I was explaining before, that's central Rwanda. It's between the Lake Muhazi in the region which we call Wanachambwe. This is where today the area of Kigali is located. And around it, there was other small kingdom. There was like Ndorwa to the north, there was Gisaka, there was Bugesera,
Uh,
Duka.
Lamumba, I think we're having a feedback from your end.
It's
Okay.
yeah.
I think there's a fan blowing or something like that. Blowing something. I don't know. Okay, good.
But I don't think that is disturbing a lot. It's good on my side. I don't know, maybe it's other people. Yeah. So there was Nduga to the southeast, and then there was Bunyambiriri. So another thing which a lot of people do not understand, or that I would like to explain to people so that they may really understand the history of this conflict well, is that when you go to the map of Congo with Rwanda, you see that in between these two countries, there is, to the south, there is River Ruzizi. To the north, east, there is Lake Kivu. And on the east of Lake Kivu, there is a chain of mountain which goes from south to north. That chain of mountain, that's what geographers call the Congo-Nile Divide. Okay? Now, David Newbury and many Rwandan historians, even Nyagahene or Ntezimana, that to show you that I'm not only going to rely on Congolese history, but I'm going to go even in Rwandan researchers themselves. This mountain on this side, since the 1885, where King Kigeli Rwabugiri started the war of conquest of this other small kingdom, this side was habitated, and they found that the people were populating this area. They are actually people who are, like you can say, today they are found in eastern part of Congo. For example, the Bahunde, they are the one who were living in today Gisenyi, which they used to call it Kieshenyi, which it means the area to go get firewood, which it was changed or corrupted with colonization and other Bantu language that Gisenyi. There is area like Kinyaga. In Kinyaga, on this Congo-Nile divide, there is Bukunzi and Busozo. We'll come back to that. Now, fast forward 1885 to 1890, historian Jan Vasina, in his book, The Evolution of Rwandan Kingdom from Origin to 1900, he proved from page 75 to 90, he proved that our brothers people, which in Congo we call Banyarwanda, Congolese, they are Congolese, yes, Congolese Banyarwanda, they start migrating to Congo by, family by family in the 1890, because of the conquest, the war of conquest of Kigeli Rwabugiri, because by that time, Kigeli Rwabugiri had captured Ndorwa, Bugesera, Gisaka. Now he was trying to do his conquest to the west side of Rwanda, which is east side of Congo-Nile divide. You understand, brothers? That's when he said, there is another area which, with that, we see we already have 1890. Now, another source of information that people can check. This area of Congo and Rwanda, it doesn't mean that we cannot, if you don't want to rely only on Congolese information or Rwanda information, there are other foreigners who visit this area. We know that Henry Morton Stanley was commissioned, and he was he was an American of British origin. He went, this is what a lot of people don't know, with his first voyage to Congo, he went with American flag. And that's why I think the United States, since the beginning or the Leopoldian era, the United States is very involved in Congo. So Henry Morton Stanley, we remember that in 1800, I think it's 1870 something, he traveled from Zanzibar to to the eastern part of Congo. He arrived in Fizi area today, which is area of Babembe, and you can find his notes. He was writing people who he found, or the chief which he came in contact with. He He went to Uvira, which he wrote O with U-V-I-R-A, Uvira, but today it's called Uvira, U-V-I-R-A. That's where I'm from, Uvira. And he wrote that he met the king of Bavira, who was at that time was Muluta. And he met Bafuliru. It's not only the only explore. I mean, then he went, and fast forward, if you remember, Henry Moto Stanley is the one who was commissioned with King Leopold II to go and get signatures of, chief of these tribes which were located in Congo, and that's how Congo is made. It doesn't mean that this is another notion that I've seen.
Real quick, brother. We use the term ethnic group, not tribe. Here.
Yeah, ethnic group. Ethnic group, and you can actually visit these treaties at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in Washington D.C. If you do a request, you can actually go and check this treaty. You're not going to see any Banyarwanda chief or any of that. So, and this is not the only one. Burton also visited this area, and it's not Burton. Remember, with the Maafa, the Arab penetrated through Tanganyika or Tanzania today. The Arabs also, in their notes, you can see they fought with some of our ethnic group, like in Uvira, through to the Kindu area, up to even today Kisangani or Northern Province. So there is enough notes. Now, fast forward, when even the German, when they entered Rwanda, von Gotzen in his notes, he clearly showed that when he arrived there, King Rwabugiri hadn't conquered yet many of all these areas. He was still in the war of conquest. And even Nyagahene, who is a Rwandan historian, in the book, Antoine Nyagahene, quickly in his work, History, Peopling, Ethnic and Clans Lineage in Ancient Rwanda, which was published in 1998 from page 666 to 667. He showed how these conquests were done, and he even criticized another historian, Rwandan historian, and get this name, this is an historian who misled a lot of people of thinking that ancient Rwanda was bigger. Alexis Kagame, Nyagaene criticized him, for misleading people the way I was doing, because a lot of actually field work which Nyagaene did, which like Vansina did, which Newberry did, and Tezimana, they found that it was not totally true. He misled people. So now I'll go fast forward to Congo. As I've said, in the eastern parts of Congo, there was a small kingdom that I've said, the Bahunde, Banyanga, Bashi, Bavira, Bafuliru, Banande. Now, a question which always arose is that was there Banyarwanda there? Before colonization or before the European, dividing Africa, doing these maps? This is how let's answer this. There is a book, in the book, General History of Congo, which was written by Baba Awamze, Teofilo Obenga, and Professor Isidore Ndaiwel. They work a lot on this issue. And there is another researcher, Professor Kalala. I can't remember the book. That's what I was trying to get. He actually he did the research on all the border of Congo, how the border came to be. Of course, like many other countries, Congo as well, there are areas where one ethnic group, for example, the Bakongo, were divided in 3 countries. Because remember, the Congo Kingdom, there is a part of today, Congo Brazzaville was part of Congo Kingdom, part of Angola, and the Congo Kinshasa, today Congo Kinshasa. For example, the Lunda Empire. The Lunda Empire, there is part of Lunda, like the Babemba, they are today in Zambia, they are today in Congo. There is the Chokwe, who are today in Angola, and some are in Congo. But as there is no rule, with no exception, it's not on all borders. For example, we come to in Uvira. On the side of Congo, there is Bavira Bafuliru. But in Burundi, there's no Bavira Bafuliru. No. Because although it's on the border, but in that ancient time, in the 1800s, those small kingdoms which were there, they were apart from one another. And there is a Ruzizi River. Now, arriving in north, on the border of Congo and Rwanda, like the Bashi, which are in Bukavu area of South Kivu, west of Ruzizi River. Those people, they are the one who were living also in the side of Rwanda, where there is a Congo-Nile divide, like the Bakunzi, the Basozo, they are related to Bashi. But now when the Belgian, remember, King Leopold was an individual, although he was a king of Belgium, but he was not powerful like Germany. And in the 1900s now, when they are discussing about these borders, there was back and forth, because King Leopold was trying to put the border, which will include the today land of Gisenyi, because it was a land which was inhabited by the Bahunde, and today's land, Luhengeri, which they've changed to Ruhengeri, and the Kinyaga. But the Germans, they wanted that. They wanted it their country, Rwanda, to be expanded, and they helped even. If you read this book, you'll understand that even King Rwabugiri, he conquered some other area with the help of the German first, and later on with the help of the Belgian. So, which means it was something recent in the 1900s. So they said that the king of Rwanda didn't want any of his subjects to be in any other country, especially the Congo Free State. So they wanted their border to include today Gisenyi and Kinyaga. And that's how the Treaty of 1910 between Congo Free State, or Leopold II, and the Belgian came to be signed. And the people were moved. Those of Bahunde who were living in Kishenyi, or Bugoyi, and the Luhengeri were moved back to the area which is today Congo. You understand, brothers? And those Bashi who were living this side of Bukunzi and Kinyaga were moved into Congo.
I wish if you had a map.
Yeah, brother,
You can use that to describe like how the migration patterns kind of like evolve, so we can have some sort of clarity.
Yeah. I don't know if Brother Lumba can help us with that. Congo,
right, but let's move forward with the issue that's going on right now.
Exactly. So for me,
we're kind of getting lost in the weeds a bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, my understanding based on a documentary that I watched and a little, historical overview that called
provided
a Congolese citizen just outlined. The bottom line is all this conflict is about the mineral resources, right?
Yes.
It has not. It's like that's the bottom line. Like,
and the land
has nothing to do. No, I mean the land wasn't even an issue until a lot of people discovered that there was like mineral resources over there. Trust me, if the land had no mineral resources, this conflict wouldn't be like that significant because
right.
Exactly. So the question I want to ask is because I just want to have some clarity because a lot of times when you say like Rwandese have their viewpoint that ancient Rwanda believe that their territorial boundaries extended beyond their current jurisdiction. I'm saying like that's how they believe, right?
A group. There is a group.
Yeah. My question that I want to ask is that the Congolese, the current DRC territorial boundaries, was it the same? Do like most of the people, are they the same people? And do they always view themselves as Congolese as within the current territorial boundaries? Because you gotta understand that this whole idea of nation state, it's something alien to a lot of us. It's something that it's a Western concept, that was taught to all of us to kind of like believe that this is our territorial boundaries.
Okay.
If that
Now,
makes sense.
yeah. When it comes to Congolese now, with having the feeling that they belong together, this Zongo native.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can't remember if you were you with us? Were you left with us at the live
Diners.
chat
Yeah.
yesterday? So
Yes.
any Congolese, if you tell him Papa Bo, he'll probably tell you Moko. Mama Bo Moko, you'll understand that.
No, no, I get what you're saying, but my question
So
I want
it's
to
like
ask them.
one nation, one leader, and
Yeah,
one.
but that is
So
something.
yeah,
That is
let me
something
explain
really
now.
taught.
Let me explain now. Let me explain now.
Go ahead.
You see, find any Congolese coming from east, west, north, south. Ask him, would you like, wouldn't you like Congo to be divided in like maybe even 5 or 10 countries so that you can have your country? 99, probably 95, no, let me 95 or 96%. They'll tell you no, we want to be together. And it's not the first time that there is actually some think tank which have been for many years have been thinking, they've been financing the like the division of Congo. And if I can go fast forward, if you read in the book Holocaust in Congo, the International Community of Omerta by Charles Onana, you'll understand that this war which is in Congo, it was sponsored by some financial interests, military
Of
interests
course,
from
undoubtedly, yes,
US,
I agree.
UK, and NATO, and they are the one actually in the 1980 to the 1990, after they discovered a lot of oil in eastern part of Congo and all this mineral, and they knew that in this age, in the 1990, the 200, the mineral like coltan, cobalt will be in high demand. But they knew about some of these mines, like coltan. We found that the United States knew about coltan as a strategic mineral since the 1940. They went to Mobutu and tried to get a deal with him. But as you know, they wanted to get more than Mobutu. And also, according to people closer to Mobutu, they revealed that they were also asking, like from Lake Albert and like Lake Kivu, to get 30 kilometers inland control of that in Congo. Mobutu, although he was, we know what he did sometimes, but we sometimes have to remember that Mobutu was the follower of Lumumba to some point, although he betrayed him. So he couldn't accept that. He refused. Then that's when now they went to Mugabe. And Mugabe, since he was a MI6 or British kind of introduced.
Real quick, Carl. Congo, I see you in queue. Before I bring you in, I need you to come up in queue so I can bring you into the actual live just to make sure that you're not trolling. So come up in queue, and then of course I will bring you into the live, and you can turn your camera off.
Yeah.
So I see you in queue, but I need you to.
Lamumba, do you understand? Did you understand my question that I was asking? Like,
yes. So
listen,
and I can address the question. So
yeah.
I can. I want to give some background so that I can.
No. Real quick though, because one of the things that is happening is we're kind of getting lost in the weeds, right? And
exactly.
we want to address this particular issue of what's going on with M23 in Eastern Congo, right? Most of us who are Pan-Africans are aware of the history of the Congo, and so I don't think it's needed or necessary for us to go too much into the history because we know the history at least beyond the surface level. So I can't speak to the historical borders of Rwanda and of course the Congo. What I do know is that according to the African Union, the bylaws of the African Union is that the countries that are members of the African Union, which of course Rwanda and the Congo are part of, agree that they will not change the present-day borders of their countries, even though these borders were created by the colonial powers. So that's one of the reasons why people consider the African Union a toothless bulldog, because of course South Sudan was created, and South Sudan was created basically because Western nations got tired of dealing with Sudan.
Exactly.
Right? Created South Sudan. So
Western Sahara too.
Right, Western Sahara as well. So we see that oftentimes nations are acting in contravention of the bylaws of the African Union, and that's why the African Union is considered a toothless bulldog.
And if you don't mind, if I can add, sorry, I had
issue earlier. I got a phone call, but from my understanding, the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade here in the United States, most of us are like have a really most of us descend from the Bantu people in the Congo. I know I did
Yes.
my blood research, and I'm mostly Bantu, um, and Mali, and a little bit Nigerian. So
Yeah.
I think that it's almost interesting that it seems as though God works in mysterious ways, and it might take the Africans who were transported over into the Americas to come back and help clarify the situation and stop the violence.
Well,
You
real quick, Sam, man. This is an atheist channel. We don't do the God in mysterious ways things. You know that. You know
know,
that. We don't do
well,
spookism, brother. You know
yeah,
that.
pragmatist.
We
uh,
do not do spookism. Because
So,
well,
real quick, because you know what's
so
gonna happen. You're gonna get some, and I'm gonna use the term brother or sister loosely, saying God led them to what? Engage in a kleptocracy. God led them to conquer this land and take the. We don't play those type of games at all.
oh well, how
yeah.
can I say? Can I say the ancestors work in mysterious
That
ways?
that that sounds better, brother. At least
That's so. I would say, okay, to address it,
yes, sir.
see, I would say, clearly, I mean, from the documentary that you showed, that them smuggling the minerals through Rwanda and other neighboring countries. Clearly, you can tell like the people within that region are dissatisfied with what the central government is doing. So they probably have taken things into their own hands. We have had similar situation in Ghana when it comes to mining of gold. Um, there's a lot of illegal gold mining that is taking place. Even there was recent Al Jazeera documentary that some Indian investor was saying that he was, buying like over like 5 million worth of gold from Ghana. That wasn't really going through like the central government of Ghana. So illegal stuff has always been happening, especially when people within that region where um, mineral resources being mined are dissatisfied. Even in Ghana recently, a number of people were killed because they wanted to go to like the gold mine in Obuasi to to just to gain an employment opportunity. And the military men of Ghana, the army, they shot those young folks in that region and died. It's a lot of environmental issues in that region, and usually the leadership, they're the ones benefiting. The political class, they're the ones benefiting. So that on the beyond the surface, when you look into the details, you can tell like there's like a lot of factions even within the same country. But what I do not understand is like why the Western powers or like these investors are allowing Rwanda and neighboring countries to buy illegal gold resources from Congo. I just don't understand. Is it?
Well, they're not buying; they're smuggling the resources and then selling them to, of course, Western nations.
That's what I'm saying. Because like if they know, but they could they could. Cause I'm building a point. Because the reason why I'm saying that is because even in Ghana, like because I used to work, I was an intern for a petroleum like Ghana, the National Petroleum Corporation in Ghana, and one of like the oil reserve that they discovered on offshore Ghana is like between the like the maritime borders.
Yes,
It's a little different between. It's different from the land borders. Because
I'm familiar. I was in the Navy.
Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire. The way the maritime border is kind of divided. If you want to look at it from the length of like the land borders, you might think the oil reserves in Ghana is part of Cote d'Ivoire. So there was a conflict. There was one reservoir that was discovered by a foreign company, and Cote d'Ivoire claimed, that hey, I mean, this reserve falls within our territorial boundaries, But the case was sent to the International Criminal Court, and
Yeah.
was adjudicated that it was falls within the offshore or the maritime borders of Ghana,
Can I speak
and
to
we,
that?
we won we won the case.
After him. Yeah.
and we won the case. So I mean, there are due processes that even neighboring countries, when they experience contentions as far as like natural resources is concerned, they follow, and they are able to resolve the problem.
Well, real
This.
quick. Well,
Mhm.
one of the issues we find, particularly in Eastern Congo, is that many of these multinational corporations don't care about actual international law, and
Yeah.
oftentimes these multinational corporations, irrespective of where they're headquartered, typically they're headquartered in Western nations or Western supported nations, are able to act in contravention of national and international law without, of course, fear of any type of reprisal. For example, many of these multinational corporations have private militias or small armies that they use to actually seize land in the Eastern Congo, and then, of course, extract the resources and sell them on the world market, even times on the black market.
No, I agree. I agree,
So
Lumumba.
law tends not to play a role here, unfortunately. But it really comes down to the crux of the issue comes down to the nation state, the sovereign nation state, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, being able to control access to its natural resources. And unfortunately, the Congo has not been able to do that for
Yeah.
over 100 years. Very quickly, we're going to go to the Congo. We're gonna let you tap in, brother. Brother Zongo, and of course, you said brother Umcall, and of course,
Yeah, I was going to finalize my statement. I was saying
okay.
like, I was going to say like, it seems to me, it appears to me that clearly that the investors, I mean, from their point of view, it's not that I agree with their side. Clearly, the central government of Congo is doing something that they probably don't like. That they have to go through like the back channel to make sure like uh they gain the full benefit of their investment. So yeah, I'll just put it that way. So that's how
Okay.
I kind of like look at it.
If I can quickly answer that, it's not like Congolese have never tried or the government of Congo. Yes, I'm not condoning the government or everything which they did or they are doing, because like the current president, I don't agree with him on many things. He's for me, people know that I've been calling him useless because he could have done better for the 4 years which he had total power, and plus the 2 years where he was in the power sharing. He could have done better to build up the security apparatus. He didn't do that, but he's corrupt, and he's incapable because, and this is the issue which, like Lumba said, the affairs of Congo, like Kruma said, have never been left to be decided by the Congolese people. When this guy who's in power, were proclaimed as the president, he's not the one who won election in 2018. It was somebody else who have the academic know-how with experience and a little bit of patriotic, spirit, I may say. Because even when they suggest him to go into deal, he was like, I won election. Let's follow the law. So that's the guy who I would have loved to be a president, and I believe he could have done better than this useless Chisekedi. When it comes
Was
to
it Fayulu, by the way?
yeah, with
By any
Fayulu,
chance?
yes,
Fayulu, yes.
Fayulu, yes. So even the 2023 election, it was not an election. It was a sham. It was like how can I say? In French it's like like burglary.
It was a
Like,
sham. That's good enough. It was a sham.
yes, it was a sham. So that's the thing. But Congolese have tried to like people who are saying, oh, Congo should go into talk with the M23 and so on. Do you know how many times Congo have sit down with our Rwandan or Banyarwanda? Because let's not generalize. It's not all Banyarwanda. It's a group in this, our brothers, Congolese, I mean, Banyarwanda of Congolese or national of Rwanda origin, whom are related or are very close to Kagame, who are creating this havoc. There are other Banyarwanda who are against this, and they don't want to have anything to do. Even in a government, there is a minister Munyarwanda. On the central bank, there is. In the army, actually, the army is 25% probably of the top leadership of the army is Banyarwanda. And that has been also an issue because we found that in this group of Banyarwanda, there is some people who are close to Kagame and they've infiltrated the security apparatus. Those are the ones who are selling out the plan, selling out everything. And that's why Congo army looks a little bit weak. So I will leave other people to speak. Or if
Brother Congo, go right ahead.
Thank you, Lumumba. Evening, Omkar, Zongo. Thanks again for having me on. I'm not entirely sure how far you guys have gone with this discussion, but I just want to go back again and talk to you guys through from what I know, from my perspective anyway, of how this war somewhat started. So, as you all know, the Rwanda genocide happened in '94. Refugees came over to Congo to settle. Some of them settled, and some of them were armed, obviously. And Rwanda has been using that particular story of chasing people that done genocide in Rwanda for years now. So his idea is basically to come over to Congo and chase people that done genocide in his own country, and that happened in '94. So from '94 to '97, mind you, these genociders could have been what, mid 20s to 30 years old, and it's been over 30 years since that happened. So these genociders are super old now. They're pretty much in their 60s and close to 70. So these guys are not even in a age where they could fight anymore. So he's pretty much chasing ghosts at the minute. And another issue again I have with Rwanda is that whenever they came over to Congo, I think it was in the year, I think it was 2016, 2017, and there was an army mission that happened between Congo and Rwanda. So Congo literally invited Rwanda and said, "Hey, you guys are chasing the FDLR. Come over to Congo. Let's do a mission, and you can kill them basically." And that happened. I don't know if you remember Amcar, but there was a mission called Umoja, Umoja 1, Umoja 2, and that was pretty much that's what happened. So they came over, and that was pretty much done. And I was listening today from a guy called Nyamwisha. He used to be Rwandan's lieutenant, basically, and he said that Congo, I think it was 2018, they had a deal with Uganda to create a road between Congo and Uganda, and Congo invited a number of East African leaders, and Rwanda was not invited. And when Rwanda heard that, Kagame pretty much said, Rwanda was not invited, but that doesn't stop us inviting ourselves in Congo. And that's when M23 of 2020 happened. It was created pretty much. So some of them defected from the
Which
army.
year? In which year?
It was in 2020, 2019.
Also, it's very
And
recent.
very exactly, yeah. So 2020, M23, that particular name, it's a pretty old name. So the very first M23 happened in 2012. And
Was it
after
in
there was
Congo or
in
within
Congo,
Rwanda?
in Congo, in Congo,
Okay.
yeah, in Congo. So
Yeah,
these are rebels
M23
that
is
were,
based on is a name taken from what they believe was the uh,
British,
no,
British.
it was taken from a reneging on a treaty that was created in March
yeah,
of
I
2012.
treated that, yeah, I treated that was signed in March basically. So they
Yeah.
basically called it M23, M23. So that happened in 2012. And from 2012 until 2019, 2020, everything was all good until the very recent one. The new M23 rejected anything that had to do with Congo. They went back to Rwanda. They began to train new members, basically. And these new tactics they tend to use ethnic speaking Congolese to basically fight for Rwandan ideologies and missions. And that's really wrong. And Rwanda has been doing that for years now. And until now, I think, I don't know what it is, but I feel like if it was any country in in Africa, Congo would have broken up years ago. And I think Kagame, Congo, like I think the issue of Congo has been a pain in his ass. Basically, he doesn't know how to get rid of it, and he's been trying and trying and trying. Congo will just not split up, and I think this new tactic is used now. He's in Goma at the minute. I don't. I'm a bit fearful, but I know that it's not gonna happen. I know we're gonna try to fight back, and um, and I'm just fearful that they end up in South
Well, the
Kivu.
question is,
Yeah.
what is the view of the people in North Kivu? That's the problem. You know.
Well, I'll speak from this, right. Right now, if you looked at the some of the social media accounts of Al Jazeera, Sky News, and things like that, you're seeing people are being happy. In particular, in Goma, they're being happy because number one, some of them are not fans of the current president. I'm not fan of the current president either, but they are not really happy of M23 coming in. They are happy that there could be an alternative than the current president.
Mm.
But at the same time, if you look at in Kivu at the same time, in a place called Butembo, Butembo is where it's another city in North Kivu. It's where the new governor has just, how can I say, has just been proclaimed basically.
So let me
That's
ask
in Kivu.
Let me ask you this
So
question, right? Because
so
we've
you
been
got
seeing
two.
like
Yeah, sorry, go on.
people have been killed, like the is it the M23 rebels? Are they the ones killing the unarmed civilians,
Yes,
right?
they are. Yep, yep.
Okay. So what really transpired? Like, can you give us a brief why are they killing the people, like armless people? Are the people trying to, attack them, like, you know?
Some are resistant, but they're mostly fighting the actual government, the army of Congo, pretty much. That's what they're doing.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But some of these people the people that are dying at the minute are people that are being caught in the crossfires.
Oh, victims
You
of
know what I
the.
mean? Exactly.
So it's the
And it's
fight
been happening
between
on.
Congolese
Yeah, absolutely,
May I
army.
help him
absolutely.
there?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, go on, Amka.
Yeah. Since. Oh, sorry. Let me stop one side because I'm kind of like.
Yeah. Pause the other stream. Yeah, the
Yes.
YouTube stream. Yeah.
Yeah, since I'm from Kivu and I know all those regions and I'm in contact with people, let me help my brother here to explain
Oh, you
what.
from North Kivu? You from
I'm,
there?
yeah, I'm from Kivu. I'm from Kivu
Oh,
He's
province.
from
oh,
Kivu.
okay. Born and raised in Kivu?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Kivu.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
Okay. Go
So,
ahead.
and I still have family there in Goma. I have family in Butembo. I have family in Bukavu, Uvira. So, I'm from
Oh, so
there.
you are okay. You from Goma? Okay,
So,
that's good.
if you remember, if you can look it up,
I have the
M23,
map.
the first massacre they did, it was in Kishishe. They killed more than 100 civilians. This is on UN. You can see even on UN report. And then in Bambo, and
Kishishe, is it
before
like around Goma or something?
it's north of Goma. It's in North Kivu. So North Kivu, let me explain. North Kivu is a province, and the capital of the province is
No, no,
Goma.
no. I know. I'm
Yes,
looking in the map. That's why I was just
yes,
asking. Just
yes.
go ahead with
So
just explain what. Just
and
mentioning
and
that's
that's
fine.
why I was trying to go briefly or deeper into history so that people may understand why they do that. And
No, that's fine. Just stick
yeah,
to. Just stick to. I'll just look. Just
yes.
trying to have uh
Can I speak? Yeah.
clarity. Yeah, go ahead.
So among Congolese, we don't have this division of. Let me explain first. That's another document I was trying to send to Dr. Lumumba. I know it's backward and as a Pan-African, we don't like it, but you have to understand this. The way we were divided, as Brother Sandman said, when you are Bantu, it's a bigger group of Bantu language speaking. We have our brothers who are Nilotic languages. And in this Bantu, when it comes to Rwanda and Burundi only, do not let anybody distract you. From Rwanda and Burundi only, that's where anthropologically so-called, there is now a subgroup called Tutsi or Burundi. Actually, even in dictionary before this manipulation, in most dictionary, it was written. When you went to dictionary, that's what I was trying to say. Tutsi, is a Nilot from Rwanda or Burundi. Hutu, and a Muntu, a Bantu person from Rwanda or Burundi. So they came to Congo as those subgroups. Yes, they are our brothers, especially a lot of came through the 1930 mission of Banyaranda. Now, fast forward why they are killing people. Because this our brother, who in this group of Tutsi related to Kagame, there is a group whom they have this mentality of thinking that they were supposed to rule over the Bantu. They think they are superior. And this came from one, I don't know if I can say he was a researcher or colonialist agent. It was written in Paul Hans, like he was saying, from what he found in Rwanda, how, because Hutu and Tutsi, as I said before, they are not actually ethnic group, they are social group. A Tutsi was somebody who had a lot of cows or kind of rich in their context, and Hutu was somebody who was a farmer working the land.
Oh, but they speak the same language.
Yes, they speak the same language, same culture, and they have the same land and the same tribe, which is called Banyarwanda.
Well, we use the term ethnic group, but
ethnic group.
But we're getting away from the crux of the issue, and we're talking about solutions to the crisis in Eastern Congo.
Yeah, Dr. Lumba, I went there so as to provide solution and to explain why they are killing. Now, this our brother. Their mission in Congo is what? Yes, it's a war of mineral, but for multinational and stuff. But for Rwanda, they also want in this day and age against the OAU mission or law. They wanna grab a land, Congo land. And other than that, also as I've said, they think that they should govern over the Bantu people. They wanna like create kind of their colony. They wanna be the ruler actually. So in this land which is occupied by Baunde and Banande, anytime when they have a way to do it, they will massacre people because people are resisting them. See the way how they are coming. People knows that these are actually from Rwanda, these are Congolese, so they are resisting them. By resisting them, you don't have ammunition like them, so they will massacre people. And that's why if you look on the World Wide Web, the mapping report, the UN mapping report, which was published in the 2006, I think, you can see areas where massacres were done. Up to more than 6 million people were killed in Congo, and it's ongoing. In Bambo,
in the Kivu area.
Yes. So I'll stop so to give other people a chance from there. Then I'll come.
I mean the Tutsi guys, those citizens in Kivu that you see like they have this sort of like superiority complex. Are they mostly within the political class in Kivu, or they just? I'm guessing they have some sort of authority over there in Kivu.
Well, very quickly. See, once again, we're getting offline, right? We want to focus on what can Pan-Africanists do, solutions to the crisis in the Congo, right? And so the solution,
solution, okay,
right? Because we're getting off into some.
I agree. Yeah, I definitely agree with you, Lumumba.
Yeah,
as the case has it been taken to
bring it back,
African Union, or the East African is. I'm guessing it's within
East African
bloc.
Yeah,
has it been taken to?
Yes, it has.
Headquarters. So, what is the state of the resolution process over there?
Yeah. So just a quick brief. Congo is part of, I would say, 3 big organizations. You've got the African Union, you've got the SADC, which is the southern parts of Africa, union countries basically. You've got South Africa, Botswana, Zambia,
it's not
places like that. And then at the same time, Congo is also part of the East African community as well. So you've got Kenya, Tanzania, Burundi, Rwanda, South Sudan as well, I believe. So 2 days ago, Congo was part of the SADC meeting, and they discussed the Congolese issue, and they condemned a few of the Rwandan actions in Congo, and they've also put in a suggestion to have another meeting with the EAC, the East African Community, to discuss this matter further. So what I believe will happen is that the SADC and EAC will have a meeting in the next few weeks, maybe next week, I believe, in the middle of the week, to talk about it even further, because it's going a bit long now, and I want this issue to be resolved. I'll be honest with you. And
when did it start?
At the minute, when did what start?
When it get started, like them pursuing like the case.
Last week. It started last week.
Last week, very recently.
And and at the same time as well, our Foreign Affairs Minister, Teresa Wagner, she went to the UN Security Council, and she's really putting a good word in for us. She's really been pushing hard for us, to be honest. And we pretty much, the UK has already sent out a letter to Rwanda, and I'll be honest with you, as a Pan-African anyway, I don't really like African countries to go to the European powers and beg them. Yeah. But I feel like this is
East
the
African
only
bloc should mount pressures on them.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like this is the only solution that we have at the minute, is to somewhat play that game of begging the former colonial powers. Speak to the UK, speak to the Americans, speak to the French. Make sure they put so much pressure on Rwanda to stop them continue to impose themselves on Congo. Because I feel like Rwanda is the only country in the East African region that's playing this game of bullies. Like for example, Rwanda, they don't really get along well with Burundi since 2015. Their borders were shut. Rwanda doesn't get along well with Tanzania. Rwanda doesn't get along well with Uganda. They had a war in Congo few years ago, there was a war literally in Congo versus Ugandan and Rwandan forces. And at the same time, right now, Rwanda are not getting along well with South Africa, and they're not getting along well with Malawi. So the only common denominator at the minute is Rwanda, and they've been given this particular free way of doing things however they want, basically, for the last few years now. And I feel like it's got to stop. And yeah, so
So let me
hopefully
ask
next week. Yeah, sorry, go on.
let me ask you
Can I,
guys another
hold
question.
on. Can I also suggest a solution? As a
Yeah, sure, go on.
Pan-African?
Uh-huh.
As a Pan-African, we, of course, we want the betterment and the development, of our people, African. And that's the spirit which was animated the Congolese since, when our brothers came to Congo in 1890. Some of our elders gave them land, gave them cows in the in the 30 and stuff. So we've been living with our brothers in peace until when, especially, it doesn't mean that there were no some skirmishes here and then. In 1965, I think there was some problem, but mainly the problem came when Kagame came to power. And my solution would be this. I think my solution would be, I would suggest what all African did when South Africa was under apartheid. It's for all true Pan-African to denounce whoever is accepting to be used as a proxy, a Western proxy in this conflict. Which, if you do research, it's Rwanda and Uganda. After denouncing, we can support Congolese even morally. We can support Congolese even it's not on, whoever is able to support any Congolese Pan-African organization, to raise awareness of the situation of Congo. Because as a Congolese, I'll tell you the truth, the situation of Congo is not known. Because why? If you read the book, recently published, Memory of Commander or Commander, there is a lobbying group, or I don't know, a communication which has been working on this so as to portray a bad image of Congolese instead of a better image. Like what they did in Iraq, actually there is something like that. This is not my fiction. This is actual. There is, even in Congo, a social engineering program going on. Like in Congo, for example, somebody who knows Congo, visits Congo, you'll see that in Congo there is many of these so-called revival church. Every street, that thing is to brainwash people. And they've been, you know what they've been telling people? Oh, don't worry about leadership comes from heaven. God
right. Yeah, that's why I said we don't do the religion game over here.
Yeah.
Very quickly, I don't mean to cut you off, but you made a great point. We find that level of brainwashing, indoctrination globally amongst African people. It's not just something in the Congo. We find it here in the States amongst African Americans, brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, South America. We find this, and so we do know that when we talk about colonialism and colonialism's cousin, chattel enslavement, this is something that we were indoctrinated with to almost justify and embrace our wretched condition in the world.
I agree.
Yeah, so like I said, there's no place for that here on the Lumumba Speaks to Be Line Network. And here's the thing, my children are aware of that as well. My children know if somebody comes to you pushing religion, they're trying to manipulate you. They know that.
Exactly.
Literally, get the French toast away from me. That my children would tell you, get the French toast away from me. When they turn 18, it's gonna be get the funk away from me, right? Yeah. And they know. Because I taught them very early when I'm talking about when they were knee-high to a grasshopper, what Malcolm X said, also known as El Hajj Malik El Shabazz. If whatever you're pushing doesn't have an economic agenda, a social agenda, right, or a political agenda, it's rhetoric, ego, and bullshit.
Yeah.
Period.
So, I think
very quickly. Now, a lot of people, once again, they take the concept that leadership comes from God because according to the Bible, which we know are mythological stories, the people of Israel believe that their leader was divinely appointed by God, right? But that has nothing to do with what's going on today in today's world. You could be the biggest Christian, you could be Holy Ghost filled, fire baptized, running for your life, and that does not qualify you to be a politician or a public servant that actually works to the benefit of the citizens that's supposed to be serving.
Let me ask another question too.
Can I finish? I hadn't finished yet with my.
Go right ahead, and then we'll pass it over to Brother Native, and then we'll bring in Brother Congo and Snapshot reviews.
Yeah, my other suggestion of solution to this is to Congolese people. Like, if Pan-African can denounce whoever is doing this, then uh, there has to be maybe encourage, like, the dialogue, Congolese dialogue with our brothers who are Congolese from Rwandan origin, so that actually things can be ironed, and show, like, I think also justice should be done. Justice should be solution, and help. However, if it can be
Wait,
spiritual.
so when you say justice, what does that look like?
So this is justice. Whoever committed, because we cannot let people kill millions of people and get away with it. Other one, it's in impunity. We cannot let people kill, like, just go in the village and slaughter hundreds of people and get away with that. They have to.
So are they slaughtering like the Congolese of Rwandan origin, or just the Congolese people?
Man, rarely they can
Congolese.
they can kill also Congolese of Rwandan origin, especially
of course.
the Hutu. Rarely, but mainly it's authentic Congolese. For example, I'll give you an example of Kipupu. Brother Lumba, I think he read already the book Dancing in the Glory of the Monsters, and they describe how Rwandan army, under the disguise of RCD, which it was another movement made of Rwanda, how they killed people in Kipupu. These people, they killed. I myself, I nearly got killed in Uvira. In 1998, they gathered. After this is when they got into problem with then leader Kabila. Then they occupy the whole of Kivu. And this thing, probably that's what is going. This thing is going on also in North Kivu as we speak. So they saw that the population are resisting them. They are forming this militia group. You see all these militia groups that you are hearing today. I'm not saying all the militia groups are resistance, but most of these militia groups started as a resistance. We were gathered in Uvira and put in stadium, and the plan was to kill all of the guys of the age, like in between 20 to 30 something. It was even between 18, because at that time, let me see, I was in my 20s. They gathered all the guys, all the men from 18 to 35, 40, and put us in different stadiums. The same day, it was in the morning. So before you wake up, they came and knocked, and there were like announcements. Nobody should go anywhere. Everybody should stay home. And they came to every house searching for male people, and they took us in the stadium. One in Kimanga, Kasenga, everywhere. And actually, we didn't know what was going on until when they released us. So there was kind of pressure coming from outside now, and this resistance, of which were called then Mai Mai, who are today called Wazalendo, they denounced that, and they were fighting in other areas. And this is how later in the afternoon they released us. You see, but in the same year they killed a lot of people at the places of Kanefu, like in the 2000 when Mutebusi invaded Goma and Bukavu again. Do you know what happened? I'll give you one scenario which you can.
Well, real quick, you said you had a solution for us.
Yes, yeah. It's because the guy was asking me. So another solution is to hold Congolese leadership accountable. We cannot only denounce Rwanda without holding Congolese leadership accountable as well. We have to denounce the Western who get most of the time meddling in the Congo, so that Congolese themselves can choose their own leaders, and those leaders should be held accountable. Because if the leader who's really chosen by the people is going to be accountable, then they're going to build the defense, they're going to be able to develop the country, they're going to be able to build more infrastructure, and so on. Yeah, so without monopolizing, I'll stop right there.
But a snapshot, go to Congo, go right ahead.
Yeah, no problem at all. I just wanted to say, when it comes to,
what?
I'll keep it very short. Don't worry. When it comes to solutions, and as an African and as a Pan-Africanist, I think the issue of Congo, people that, especially the Tutsis, that feel that know that Kagame is doing wrong. If you listen to this, come on to the show, speak, be voice your opinion, be a bit more louder. Because when I was watching Nyamwisi, who was Kagame's right-hand man, he's now, I think he's in exile now.
Yeah,
in
he's
South
in
Africa.
South Africa. Exactly.
They killed his friend. They are about to kill him as well. But the things he was saying, it was really shocking to me. He explained to the presenter the exact same thing they were doing in Congo, how they used to infiltrate, how they used to train
Yeah.
former
Can I explain
FDLRs and
them who
things.
was this guy? Let me tell
Wait,
you.
wait, wait,
Yeah,
wait.
yeah, yeah.
Don't interject. Let him finish.
No,
Sure.
so that you may
Yeah.
understand the
No,
gravity. This
yeah, you can
Kayumba
do it after.
Nyamwasa.
You can do it after.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can do it after. So he explained exactly what they used to do back in Congo, and I was really shocked. So I feel like if you really care about Africa, if you really care about the union of African people, black people, you should be calling out evil. If you see a person that's been killed, and this wasn't going on for 30 years, like have some like I hope I hope some type of a conscience will speak. You'll have some type of conscience that will speak inside your heart, basically, and said, you know what, this is wrong. A person doing bad. Because I'll give you an example. Like back home in Congo, I'm not a huge fan of Tshisekedi, and I call him out. But right now, Congo needs Tshisekedi. We need that particular president right now to be present and show some type of
Mm.
force. And I'm gonna back Tshisekedi until he wins this war. Afterwards, I'm gonna be against him again. So call out evil. Make sure you call out evil. And I really hope Rwandans that are listening, if you feel like Kagame is doing wrong, call him out. Come on the show. Trying to hide your identity. I know in Rwanda you can't really speak much, but trying to hide your identity and speak up, like voice your opinions. Right? We need people out there, to be honest, because
Mm.
Congolese, we're very loud. We can speak up, but we also need another side as well. So that's why I'll say speak up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I was gonna say. I mean, Lamumba. I kind of like get it. Like, I agree with you that we have to be solution oriented in this discussion. But I don't want to generalize that all African countries, right? But I mean, from me, I grew up in Ghana for the most part of my life, and a lot of us, we are, a lot of like, us. Uh, I think when you watch a lot of media, most people tend to have like, inclination towards their ethnic group, right?
Correct.
And especially when it comes to the issue of resource distribution, in the whole country, right? If some people feel like, okay, we don't get a fair share of the resources,
Right.
uh, or they don't feel empowered that they are also part of the citizenship. I mean, it's not just only, it's everywhere. Even in Ghana,
Right.
there are a lot of people that there are a lot of Ghanaians that tell other Ghanaians, and man, you got, especially the ones in the north, the bordering areas, like, man, you guys are not Ghanaians, man, you guys from, because most of the time they find themselves in order. I'm not trying to equate that with Congo, right? I mean, these are minor issues that probably we can also look into, because this is why someone, even though he's a Congolese of Rwandan origin, would want to pledge allegiance to maybe Kagame if he feels that he doesn't benefit from the current country where he resides. Like, you remember, I don't want to go too much. Uh, uh, when Black Americans residing in
African
America,
Americans.
yeah, I'm sorry, African Americans residing in America, they never felt that they were part of America based on the way they were treated.
That's because we're not part of America. But go right ahead.
Exactly. And do you think that if they had a powerful country that can compete with America and side with African Americans, African America will not play allegiance to that opposing powerful country? They will. And that's how you get to infiltrate in countries like that. So these minor issues, we have to look into that too as well. We have all inclusive government resource allocation. Let's make sure everybody have equal share of the national cake. In, if the person might be of Rwandan origin who was raised in the country, no, let him be also uh, be able to integrate into the society. But the moment, when it comes to local politics, people label people, they turn away elsewhere. So I think this, people might not look into this issue, but I think if we give a closer look into that, we might be able to find solutions to that. And now, even in Ghana, for instance, the Volta region in Ghana, they tend to have borders with Togo. Recently, the petroleum reserves, they have like the Volta Basin, huge accumulation of petroleum reservoir over there. I mean, ever since a lot of people discovered that, oh, the Volta Basin, they have like oil reserves over there. The Volta people of Ghana tried to petition the international community. They wanted to have their own sovereign state. Lamu, can you believe that? So it's always about resources at the end of the day, and especially when certain groups feel like they are not really having an equal share of the national cake. So I just wanted to add that as well. You know, let's have
Absolutely.
an inclusive government.
Right, and so and what typically happens is, as a result of the lack of equitable distribution of the wealth of the society, different nation states or, of course, multinational corporations are able to come in and compel different ethnic groups to what? Engage in actions against, of course, the government that benefits the actual ethnic group, nation states, or, of course, multinational organizations. This is how these type of things work. So it's why it's important, as Zongo Native was speaking to, that African nations, period, of course, are able to equitably distribute, of course, the wealth of the country to, of course, so that all citizens benefit from the wealth of the land, not just those
Can I,
that are part of the, of course.
can I speak? Can I reply?
Yes,
Or,
And also add, see, even in the Niger Delta in Nigeria, they had all the oil resources, but most of the money goes to other like state. And that's why a lot of people are fighting this Niger Delta. They fought, rebel groups, arose in those areas, and they're like, no, this
yeah,
is our region, this is our land. We deserve something from there.
yeah. Give me a,
It's
give us
always about the people over there. Are they benefiting there too?
give me a
right.
chance now to also answer that. I'm not gonna dispute that it's good. The government should, the distribution of wealth of the country should go to all the population. But I want to use this analogy now. If we know that there is native tribes in US and native tribes in Canada.
Ethnic groups.
I mean, yeah, ethnic groups, right?
Yes,
In US and Canada. I want to use that analogy. Now, if an ethnic group native to US after the state of nation of Canada and US, even before that, few move as families and go to near Vancouver, where there is, I think, the Inuit over there. And later on, after maybe 30 years later, some other goes there as refugees, and later on as migrants. And fast forward, they live there for 50 years. They get nationality, as it's by the law. They get nationality. They get considered as national. They get all the rights as nationals. Now, fast forward 50 years later, do they have the right to capture, to get guns, capture an area, and start demanding the government so that it can reclaim? I mean, they can now become Banya, like Banya Quebec, and have the traditional rights like other native ethnic group of Canada? Can
But
someone?
no,
I think you're missing what nationhood is concerned. If you are born over there, you are a citizen of that country.
Yes, but do you have straight rights to get
And
traditional?
see, and this is one of the issues that one of the supreme lawyers of Ghana stated in one of his recent interview. He said most African countries we don't really understand nationhood. Actually,
But I'm asking,
we
can you,
still practice like
if,
we are all like fragmented into our own ethnic groups.
my brother, I'm asking question.
If those people were
real,
born
real,
over
real,
there,
real quick. One mic.
if
Ask your
those
question again. Hold on. One mic. Ask your question again, and then we are allow the panel to answer.
Like we, as I said, I'm trying to get. I was trying to get that
I'm saying
document.
just ask your question.
Yeah. So we know, as I will repeat, in US there are native ethnic group of US, right? Indigenous to US before even the European got here.
Yes, we are
And in
aware.
Canada also, there are those other natives which are ethnic group of Canada before the European get here. Now, after the European got here in the, it's fast forward
We are
a few
aware.
times.
Just ask the question.
Yes. Now, I'm asking if those family members of this ethnic group of US, which we call native, travel or move or immigrate to Canada and establish his family there, nearby a land of other ethnic group in Canada. And later on, like let's say in the 30 and 50, some more members also move there. And then later on in US, there is a problem and it's thousands who are moving there. Now, Do they have they have a right to the land? They can buy a land and start and so on. But remember, like in Canada and US, this native ethnic group, they have their own traditional land, right? And when it comes to Africa now, it's nearly the same, better than in US, because here they put them in some area. But in Africa, like in the case of Congo, we still have kings who descend
hold
from.
on. Ask the question.
Yeah. Now my question is this.
Please.
Now is my question. My question: these members of the native group from USA who have moved to Canada now, they've become Canadian citizens. Do they have the right to take guns and fight the government because the government didn't give them a land to be their traditional homeland in Canada?
Okay, that's the question.
Do
Snapshot
they,
reviews. I'm gonna let you answer. Then we're gonna give it to Congo, and then Zongo. You can
yeah,
answer.
do they feel they have been marginalized? I mean, because a lot of times, if their ancestors moved there, the ancestors already died. So they grew up in Canada, which is Congo. So their orientation, everything is gonna be Congolese. Trust me, me myself, I'm a product of that. If you want to trace my origin, a lot of Ghanaians are gonna say I don't even come from Ghana. But when I met my people of my origin that come from other countries, Togo, Benin, even in northern Nigeria, and southern Niger, I share more commonality with people of Ghana than them. Actually, I saw them as different people because I was raised in Ghana. I had orientation with Ghana. I even spoke a lot of like the language of the other ethnic groups in Ghana than even where my ancestors actually came from. The only way I'll feel like okay, maybe I should connive against Ghana is when I feel I'm not treated well in Ghana. They're taking me for granted. That even though the constitution of the country says if you are born in the country, you are a citizen of the country. You should be able to aspire for political position and fight for the interests of the country. I guarantee you, if you are given that right, there's no way a group will come into your country and fight for another country's interests. I'll put it that way.
So is your answer a yes or a no?
They can claim no. They don't have to fight. They don't have to pick arms
Do
and
they
fight.
have a right to pick up arms and claim
No, they
land?
don't. They don't.
Okay, very
No,
good.
they don't.
Snapshot reviews. What is your answer?
I'm not qualified to answer that question because I don't know about whether you can or not. But in terms of answering your question, in terms of trying to find a solution, what can Pan-Africanists do? My first question around that is, does the leader of either side recognize the ideals and principles of Pan-Africanism?
I would make the presumption that they don't, based on their actions.
Right. So really, is it realistic to assume then that Pan-Africanists or Pan-Africanism is in a position to hold them accountable?
Right, and I would. That's a great question for the snapshot review. Just like you should have spoke up sooner, right? I would make the presumption. Once again, this is a presumption, not a statement of fact. I would make the presumption based on the lack of political clout, and cachet that the African Union has.
Okay.
I do not believe that Pan-Africanism is in a solution to bring about a tangible, long-lasting, peaceful solution to what is taking place in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of the Congo.
Okay. So in my hometown where I live, I found out recently that all of the Muslims here have boycotted McDonald's because of Gaza.
Okay.
They're trying to do something economical to try and combat that.
Boycott.
Is there anything like that we in the West could do?
Many are arguing that one of the things one could do is not purchase Apple products. Apple, of course, has been taken to court by the Congolese government in, of course, Europe for actually engaging in the use and purchase of conflict minerals. Right, and so one would make the argument that one could publicize boycotting Apple.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. So with the conflict that's happening at the moment, because my understanding is Rwanda's in a position to take advantage of this situation because of the backing that they have from Western governments and the fact that they have
Sure.
A military, or they got a lot more infrastructure than say the
Congo.
Congo has. Is that correct? Am I right?
Well, I mean, they do have the backing of the West. Like as I said before, they've actually entered an economic agreement with the European Union for the European Union to purchase conflict minerals from the Rwandan government.
Right. So if the Congolese side are being taken advantage of by Rwanda, what is it that's kept their leaders in place where the people haven't turned around and said, hold on a minute, these guys over the border are taking the pee. Why are we not being able to put in a stronger, more effective leadership? Like, what is it that's keeping?
Well, so there are a number of issues. Part of the issue is, of course, the military, right? When you have an army who's fighting a protracted war or struggle, you have to be able to pay them, right? Well, one of the actual leader of M23 was a former army officer of the Congolese army who defected. And then join M23. So this shows the issues that the Congolese government has, and of course, being able to control, of course, its borders and of course, access to its land.
Why did he switch sides though?
Let me pull that up.
Can I? So let me explain. So Makenga, it is since in 2000 the first when the M23 was made in 2012, and. It's over. This is the thing, that's why I was trying to go. I will go into history. It's because they were claiming they don't want to be moved. Do you see the eastern side, Kivu province?
Okay.
So they don't want to be. They are. When they get integrated, and that's why the current leader of Congo is like, enough with this. We've done this 3 times, and it's not working. So Rwanda is using that as an alibi. So what always happens when they integrate them into the army, they accept, okay, you are Congolese, we integrate you in the army, go to training. They don't want to leave the Kivu region, North Kivu, South Kivu. They just want to work in this area. And why they want to work in this area? So as to reinforce the influence of Rwanda in this region. As I was trying to say, Rwanda has an agenda other than the agenda which is being used as a proxy of Western multinational. They also have their agenda of grabbing this land, taking the Kivu land. Because that's why you hear when Kagame went to Benin in 2022, I think 2023, he said that Rwanda has land in Congo. Just bluntly he said that, but. Now,
the commander, that's what he said?
No, Paul Kagame, the current president of Rwanda, he said that there is Rwandan land in Congo. But when you go into research, even in tempore no suspecto, like research which was done in the 1920, there's no Rwandan land in Congo. But he's using that, as I said before, the quote which I gave you of Musabimana and the Nicola Wrong about a group in Rwanda using lie as a value or a virtue, is lying. Even when he spoke about South African,
we are aware that they're making prevaricating claims to justify their actions, and they're doing it because they're seeking to what? To gain access to the minerals in the Eastern Congo.
Mineral and land influence.
So that they can sell them to, of course, Western powers.
Yes.
With regards to Paul Kagame, is he loved and secured amongst his own people?
So this is what I can answer.
Yeah, but guys, let's not deflect that. A whole military, a whole commander in an army will switch side to become a leader of a rebel group. There's something serious. There's something wrong with the structure of the military institution, actually, if you ask me.
So
how was it structured? I mean, how could that allow such a problem to occur like that? It just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, and so from what I've read, the issue came. So there's a couple of issues. One, it was due to the lack of funding for the army, right? So you have soldiers, particularly officers, who feel they aren't being paid enough, and so they're going to become basically a mercenary and sell themselves to the highest bidder. Right, that is number one. The second issue was, from what I read, was there was a situation in which he was in, I believe, Uganda at the time, and he tried to restart a guerrilla war in the DRC, and he even hired Ugandan government officials to crush some of the protests against what he was doing. Right, And so there are a number of issues, but oftentimes what we tend to find are individuals who are disenchanted with the amount of pay they're receiving, right? And so as a result, they're willing to defect from the military or the nation's military that they're serving and become basically a mercenary.
Also, they're like a small subgroup.
Let me add for that.
Because if you look at the
let me add on that. There is another element
case of Niger,
because you are
Mali, Burkina Faso, when they revolted, they captured the whole government, the central government, and they wanted to to rule differently. However, in the case of Congo, a faction of the military just want to create some I mean, it's really hard to really understand the mentality.
Let me read this comment from Provide Triggers for Evolution. Then let's go back to my original question. How must the AU be held accountable? Is it a matter of shifting its funding? Is it a change in leadership? Is it a change in pragmatic mindset? One of the reasons why the African Union is seen as the toothless bulldog, because the majority of its funding comes from the European Union. Yeah. That's just the reality. So I would argue, first and foremost, the issue is funding. The second issue is we do know that the president of the African Union, it rotates each year, if I remember correctly. There's a problem because there's not much to get done in a year. And of course, they transition leadership each year to really create this concept of unity. But what happens is you tend to find very, very little getting done. I hate to bring this individual up, but Gaddafi, when he was the president of the African Union, he actually was getting things done. He was doing things, right? So we tend to, unfortunately, have a very poor history of individuals who have taken on the strongman type of leadership in Africa. But sometimes it seems that you need someone like that to get things done, like what we're seeing in Burkina Faso right now, like someone who isn't going to play in the games and actually say, we're going to get things done to benefit, of course, the masses of the people in the nation. So how do we engage all of these elements above to foster transformational change with the African Union? That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I will put that question out to, of course, the panel.
So does any of the leaders or any of the African leaders in neighboring nations have an incentive to help this conflict wind down?
Yes.
Who's that then?
Yeah, let me answer. The leader of Angola, Joao Lourenço, has been trying harder. Has been trying, but Rwanda sabotaged that process. And in Nairobi, there is another process which what they did, because there was this local, which you can call militia or armed group, which among these, most of them were made to resist since the 1996 to resist against the Rwandan influence in Congo. Because this is what people probably don't understand. 1996 Congo is invaded, in 1998 as well, and these folks in 2005, 2009, 2012, and now 2022. So Lorenzo, president of Angola, is well positioned to mediate this issue. Also, the former president of Tanzania, Jakaya Kikwete, also advised, and he was trying to come up with a solution, but because Jakaya Kikwete, then president of Tanzania, suggested that to have a true solution to this problem, Rwanda, the president of Rwanda, has to agree also to speak with his own people, because people, this, like the guy who we said, the previous guy, I think it was in the Congo, mentioned Kayumba Nyamwasa. Kayumba Nyamwasa used to be the chief of staff of army when they took power in Rwanda. So he was the second in command after Paul Kagame.
So it's mainly through like diplomacy, not just military intervention.
Hold on. So he knew everything. The intervention in Congo, wherever they did together. Even the other guy, Patrick Aregeya, who went to South Africa. Why did they became disenchanted or they became conflicting with Kagame? It's because some of them were trying to advise Kagame. We have done enough in Congo. We don't have to leave this issue for our generation to come against the Congolese. Let's stop going into Congo with the war. Let's leave the Congolese, even our brothers who are in Congo. Let's give them space to be in peace and reconciliate with their brothers. But Kagame didn't want that. And the other issue, because this is what people have to understand also, behind every war, it's economic interests which are behind there. And Rwanda actually economy of Rwanda, it's mainly under one company called Crystal Venture, which is a company owned by the so-called party in power, RPF. But we know the RPF is a cover for it. So basically, it's owned by Kagame and his brother and his friends, and they are basically the one who are dealing with all this mineral and stuff. So those guys, they became the problem grew bigger, and they ran to South Africa. If you read the book In Praise of Blood, you will understand that Rwanda is like an open air prison. And this is what a lot of people don't know because of the propaganda which comes from people are being bamboozled in Rwanda. In Rwanda, for example, people
are trying to understand the situation. He say like, as any African countries help, was it mainly diplomacy, or they also provided military support?
So, like Angola can provide both diplomacy and military support, because Angola is among the strongest military in the region. For example, that's among the countries that helped Congo in 1998 to the 2003 to stop the invasion, the second invasion of Rwanda and Uganda. It was Angola, Namibia, and Zimbabwe. Now, Tanzania in 2012, the first formation of M23. Tanzania, so country of SADC, Tanzania, Malawi, and I think, it was just Tanzania and Malawi. And they helped also Congolese army to stop the first M23 rebellion. So the problem is now like this. What M23 are trying to get from Congo, it's mainly, when you look at their demands, officially, they're not going to tell you that. But when you look at their demand now, do you know like that from 1990, let's say from 2003 up to recent, like 2023, Congo is paying every month between 10 million to probably 60 million every month to Rwanda. So-called, it's in, if you look, unfortunately, it's in French, Accord de Lumangabo.
What kind of payment is that?
Payment, they say so-called because the Rwandan military who died in Congo in the 1996 war.
Reparations?
You said?
Is that reparations, I suppose?
Yeah, so Congo is basically, most of the time, forced to go into dubious agreement with Rwanda. And that's why you can hear Kagame, instead of himself voicing that, what he wants for Congo, he's trying to use M23. That's why he's forcing Congo to negotiate with M23, because he knows through M23 he can gain more, because an official president from the country. Let me show another example. When Kikwete suggested that other than the process of peace in Congo, Rwanda have to engage with its political opposition, because you cannot be an opposition leader in Rwanda. You'll be killed. In Rwanda, you can never voice against Kagame.
Sorry to interrupt, but just to interject, from what I've got from what you've just said, Paul Kagame benefits personally from this arrangement, correct?
Yes.
Right. So because he benefits personally, there's no incentive for him to wind this down on his end, right?
Yes.
And there isn't anyone else that can really bring them to the table for diplomacy or whatever, because he's going to go through M23, or he's just going to find any excuse to not go to that table, right?
Kind of, but there is people who can bring it if they decide to. Unfortunately,
but what incentive would he have to listen, though?
If there is like a military force, and especially if they cut aid, because this is what we have to understand also. Rwanda is a country which survived mainly on aid, international aid. Probably 40%, I can't remember, more than 40% or 40% of Rwandan budget is through international aid. Like in 2012, Obama cut that aid, and that's how Rwanda retreated or took away his soldiers in Congo. That was one of the carrots or the stick which they used. So the SADC, if SADC decides to deploy and they get more diplomatic backing probably from the Western nation, unfortunately, he can back down. Do you know what he told Kikwete? He he like what can I say? He actually threatened Kikwete when Kikwete said that he should also engage with his opposition. He threatened that.
Yeah, guys, but I do have one important question that I want to ask you, because like the way you kind of presenting this issue, you are presenting Congo in a more as the one who's a victim position, and then when one look at a map and see Rwanda, it's just something nonsensical. So I'm trying to have a sense of understanding about the whole governmental structure of Congo, for instance, right? Because the blame also has to go on Congo too. We just
Yes,
can't be always
there is a lot of blame on leadership of Congo. Of
because
course.
because I know one thing. I know one thing. I don't know, like if there's a peaceful. Is it Congo? Is it democracy, or is it like autocratic ruling? Is it like the same family ruling the country for a very long time? Because one thing that I know in most African countries, especially the ones that are autocratic leaders, and uh, and also have their families in position of power for a very long time, they tend to weaken the military, because they don't want them to be powerful enough to be able to overthrow them.
That's correct.
You understand? So they tend to
Right.
weaken the military because of their own personal interest.
There is an element
Now,
of
if you weaken your own personal military in fear of like overthrow, then you make your country very fragile of any foreign influences.
yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah, so
do we see
The
that as
Congo has a presidential democratic republic. They hold elections every 4 years.
4 years?
Yes, but let me
And
talk about the military now.
what about
You
the
see,
military? Mhm.
hold on. Do you see the problem is like this? First, you have to understand the mindset, and this is where most of you, our brothers who are far away from this region, you struggle to understand. You have to understand the mindset of this our brother, this group, which even the Rwandan call Kagamistan group. Their mindset when it comes to conquest, and stuff. Then, of course, yes, like you said, the Congo leadership it failed. And I can explain there is that element because in 1996, the then army which was there, which was already sabotaged by Mobutu leader, it was what can I say? It was destroyed. And you know what happened, like in Libya when the Libyan army was destroyed, or even in Mali when you know what with that situation. That is one fact. Now, in the rebuilding of the new army, unfortunately, the people who sponsored this war also was on the part of helping the rebuilding of army. So they had to put in, they allowed elements which will become problem in the future, and that's why you heard about the defection of like a guy like Makenga, who is a fellow, a Congolese of Rwandan origin, of Rwandan Tutsi, but he defected, and it's not only because of the pay of the pay they used to get a lot of advantage, but it's because of their mindset and the objectives which they have in Congo. But yes, the leader, that's why I'm even most of the time against this leader.
Hold on. What's the mindset? You said you was going to mention the mindset, but then you didn't.
All right. There is, I'm not going to use mine, but I will use a document. This is a letter found in August of 1962 in Matanda, Kamba, Kibati, North Kivu. And this was found among the group of our brothers, Banyarwanda, Congolese Banyarwanda of Tutsi. And this is what they were saying. So basically, this letter, it's saying that they consider like Bantu who elect them, for example, because Congolese consider them as brothers. They have all the right. For example, there is a Mnyarwanda, Barthélemy Bisengimana. He became a chief of staff of Mobutu. So they had the same right and the same, they were afforded the same opportunity with Congolese. They had farms, they had big businesses. So when the Congolese elected them in the election of 1960, this is what they were planning. They said they were writing that Bantus are naive, so they're gonna work on the Bantu naivety to do what? Kind of to colonize them. On their article 1 and article 2, they were trying to explain them or to tell them the method of disguising this plan so that Congolese will not be like Bahunde, who they are Bahunde, Banyanga, Bashi, Bavira, and Bafuliru. These are ethnic groups which live on eastern side of the Congo, border with Rwanda, Burundi, and Uganda, so that they don't become alert like it was during the conquest of their king, Kigeri Rwabugiri, and so on. So this is, and on Article 4, they try to, to explain that every Mututsi should, so this is their mindset. So when you don't understand.
Hold on. So what is the mindset?
So the mindset.
What is the? Just make it plain. What is the mindset?
So their mindset is like they were born or they were made to rule over the Bantu people. They shouldn't be ruled by Bantu people.
Okay, very good.
This is the mindset you have to understand when you wanna come up with solution in this region, and that's why you see in Rwanda, in the leadership, it's our brothers, Rwandan of Tutsi stock, of Tutsi social group, and the Hutu, they did everything, demonized them, and so on.
We're familiar. We're familiar with that. We are familiar with
that. Do they like proclaim that, or you guys determine that through their actions?
So some have been saying it like openly.
I mean the ones in authority. I don't mean like the ordinary people, the citizens.
Yes. Sometimes when you discuss with them and they become like become frustrated. Some, not the high authority, some in authority, they say that. You guys
within the military. I'm afraid. Because I'm trying to,
Yeah, that. So you need to understand that part. That part of the mindset. Then you can now start figuring out how we resolve this issue. If you don't understand that part, you'll be, like beating around the bush.
I understand that, but that's not the question he asked. He asked were there individuals in positions of leadership that was promoting these type of views.
Yes, there are. Especially
so the question is, wait. So you said yes, correct?
Yes.
And now the question is, who are these individuals? Can you name them?
Yes, I can. I can name some. For example, Barthélemy Bisengimana, who used to be
What does he do? What position is he in now?
Is it a political appointment?
He's no longer there. He's no longer there.
Okay. Just name some people who are in positions now. Is that possible?
Okay. Let me give you position. They try to disguise.
And also, we want to know if it is a political appointment too.
Hold on. If you can't think of anyone off the top of your head, that's quite all right. But
yeah,
we try to make sure the show is concise, right? So if someone asks a question, you want to give a direct answer, right? We don't want to go about it in a circle of motion, right? Because it makes it tough for the viewers to follow the conversation. If a person asks a particular question and someone kind of goes on and starts drifting off and talk about something else, it just makes it hard for the viewers. And I can say that because I just got some text messages saying that. So we need, if someone asks a question, please directly answer the question. Please. It makes it hard for our viewers to follow the conversation. Okay. Zango Native, what is your question?
So if you don't have it off the top of your head, assuming what you're saying is true, how then would a few minority will be able to influence people, especially if someone like you, and I'm sure like majority of the Congolese citizens will be able to tell their actions or their intentions, if they are really in political positions, why do they still vote for them?
Okay, let me answer now. Do you see Congo how huge it is? Now, our brothers, especially from since the 1996, most of our brothers to the west didn't know much about our brother Banyarwanda, Tutsi, and Hutu. Didn't know much. unless other than those who were in like intelligence, capacity, they are the one who had these informations, right? But us, the population from the east who have been living and they're dealing with them, like the Bahunde, they've been dealing with Rwandan since ages, since centuries, like since they had some wars in the 1800s. The Bashi, actually, they've been dealing with them since also the 1800s because they are actually the one who fought and warned the king of Rwanda to not penetrate into today Congo. The Bafuliru as well. But unfortunately, in the 1990, the government of then Zaire Congo was weakened already, so it was nothing. So even if they told this apparatus security system, intelligence system, what were they doing? So now, but fast forward to now, yes, a lot of Congolese they no longer really vote for this brother. But of course, in some area, sometimes there is, because not all people are much like aware of this situation, but also with that, what can I say, a heart of saying that this is our brother, we've been living with them. Although there was a war, they still feel like no, this might be good, and because in all group you cannot just cast away the whole group, right? You cannot just say the whole ethnic group of Tutsi they are bad, or the whole ethnic group of Hutu, as you call them, they are bad. No, there are those who are bad who they continue this mindset, but there are those others who they want to live in peace with others. You see, so that's why, for example, a guy like the current Minister of Infrastructure of Congo, what's his name, Gisaro Muhoza, he might have been elected in Uvira, and he's a Congolese Munyarwanda Tutsi. But a lot of people who are aware of this, they're like, let's be cautious, let's not elect this. But you see, and they are in position of leadership. So because there are those one who have, you cannot just cast away the whole group of people. You understand that?
No, I don't.
We don't.
We don't. So what we're gonna have to work on providing direct answers, right? I would make the presumption that individuals are able to stay in office, one, due to corruption, due to individuals not being politically aware about everything that's going on, and that there tends to be maybe a cult of personality, or individuals are able to be very charismatic and influencing the ballot rather than people being able to vote based on the actions of those who are actually in power. I'm making a presumption. I'm not as well versed in terms of distinctly what's going on boots on the ground in terms of the politics of what's taking place in the Eastern Congo. But once again, we're going to have to work on being able to provide direct.
Well, Lumumba, you're right, because a lot of times the voting patterns, I don't want to generalize, but even in the case of Ghana, it's not really based on who has experience. It's about how charismatic and what campaign message you'll be able to sell to the ordinary citizens.
Even here in the United States, that's the case.
Yeah, I agree.
Right. So I mean, this could be a global issue, right? I know when I was in Ghana, I was able to speak with a number of brothers and sisters, boots on the ground, as they say, and so I'm excited. Of course, I'm an African American. I'm visiting Ghana. I've come to the continent. I've made it home, as Garvey would say, right?
Yeah.
And so I have a just euphoric type of cherubic disposition regarding, of course, the presidential palace, so on and so forth. And people was like, man, whatever. They corrupt. They ain't doing nothing for the people. And they just brought me right down to the ground, right?
And I'll tell you one thing though. See, the way you speak English fluently, right? In Ghana, if you speak that kind of fluency, they say, "Oh man, this guy is intelligent." Like a normal language, they think, "Oh, this guy's like a professor."
Yes, sir.
So they still like to disconnect too with colonial language. I don't know. In the case of Congo, it's the same thing. Like most people understand French. Or I don't know.
Yeah, there is also some people have that complex. Like when you speak French, you are intelligent.
Exactly. So you see. So
that is a big issue, and we find that even here in the States, to where this you all are here in the States as well. But that concept that if you are able to be articulate, that somehow people would equate that with intelligence. Well, we know the two aren't mutually exclusive. But if you're someone who's able to finagle people, hey, you can use it to your advantage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I agree. I mean, the issue of Congo is, it's really sad.
Yes,
but I strongly believe that there's more to it than just. I think I mean, in as much as we want to blame Rwanda, I mean, they should be condemned. Their actions shouldn't be tolerated. But if you're really a uniform country and you believe in the ideals of the sovereignty of the Congo nation state, then you shouldn't be able to sell your country to another. Like, it just doesn't make sense. There has to be an internal misunderstanding.
Well, no,
Uh,
but and I don't mean to cut you off, but it makes sense because they're doing so because it benefits them financially to do so.
Yeah.
exactly right.
It's
So
not
at
to
the end,
understand.
And
It's
so
not
what
to,
happens is the rule of wealth trumps, in this case, the rule of law.
I
yeah.
agree. I
Yeah,
agree.
so
I
let me
agree.
explain. Can I explain in context of Congo, for example? Yeah. Uh, why I'm saying the leader, the leader, yes, we have to denounce Rwanda, to blame Rwanda because it's not good invading another country. But yes, the leadership, the current leadership of Congo is also to blame. And as Congolese, we are putting them on fire. We are trying. For me, for example, my solution when it comes to Congo, even right now, I'm praying if in the military, in the army, we can get a guy who has patriotic spirit, like brother uh, Traore, Traore, or even Chani, and so on, so that and then overthrow this useless leader Chisekedi. If that guy has a patriotic spirit, he will be able to build the army. I don't think that Congo needs a lot of all these years to put up an army. It's only the problem we have been played to get a leader. For example, Joseph Kabila. He is a leader who was more pro Rwanda than Congo, and that's why. And this is where I saw another mzee of us, a professor, who was saying that Congolese were against Joseph Kabila because they think he came from Goma and he's Rwanda. No, 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 no. He's not actually. If you is not you cannot say that he's not. It doesn't come from Goma, from No Kivu. If we go according to his biography, he's the son of Laurent Desire Kabila, right? Laurent Desire Kabila come from Katanga. It's in south of Congo. That's where he comes from. But Congolese were against him because most of his policies were pro-Rwanda than pro-Congo. Imagine a country, let me explain you
But
this.
could it also be that his political opponents make
Mhm.
the masses to believe that he come from Rwanda? It always like that, you know.
Right. That is good. Very quickly, Zongo, that is a great point. A good example here in the United States, just for the viewers who are watching who are here in the States, so we could provide a parallel or a parallel example is Donald Trump promoting the concept of birtherism, the belief, the prevaricating belief that Barack Obama was not born in America, right? So we tend to find that individuals with influence will put out information that is misleading and false about a particular political opponent in order to gain favor of the masses.
Yeah, and I heard that the polls said that even over 60% of the far right movement did believe that Obama actually wasn't born in America and he
Right.
wasn't an
And so,
American.
and so part of that comes from the fact that most, for example, I was in the military. And so one of the things about being in the
Oh, you
military,
were?
yeah, I was in the
Oh,
military. So 6 years as a staff sergeant, chemical operations specialist, nuclear, biological, chemical weapons defense. One of the things that happens is you come in contact with individuals from all walks of life in America, right? White, black, Latino, Jewish, Hispanic, Arab, whole nine, irrespective of their
African,
religion.
everybody.
Absolutely. And so what happens is you find that a number of individuals, particularly here in America, are intellectually lazy. They aren't intellectually curious. They don't read, so on and so forth. So it's easy for them to turn the television on, watch a particular program, and believe whatever's being said, hook, line, and sinker. So individuals who are not intellectually curious are easily manipulated. Easily manipulated. That plays a role in how their individuals are able to foment these type of conflicts that create civil unrest. And so that lack of stability allows different countries, nation states, and multinational corporations to come in and then grab up and snatch up those conflict minerals and sell them on the world market without actually having to pay the government that they're supposed to be paying, the nation state, the government that they're supposed to be paying. So that's one of the ways that these type of things take place. But family, we're out of time. Appreciate you all for tapping in, being part of this conversation. Until next time, family, you all know what to do. Peace.
Peace.
Before you go, Make sure you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you for supporting the channel. And remember, here at Lumumba Speaks, we always bet on black. Peace.